To the Carpinteria City Council meeting. Today's date is August 24th, 2026, and I will request a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Solorzano.
Here.
Councilmember Clark is absent temporarily.
Temporarily.
Councilmember Nomura.
Here.
Mayor Alarcon.
Here.
And Councilmember Mayor is absent.
Great, thank you. And closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor Alarcon. We were in closed session to discuss 4 items. 2 were for conference with legal counsel for existing litigation, both cases of which are included on tonight's agenda. And the other 2 items were for a conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation. And there's no reportable action this evening.
Great. And then we will be continuing one of the items for after, we'll continuing one closed session item.
Correct, Mayor Alarcon. I understand that the council would like to continue one of the items under the conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation to after tonight's regular open session items. And so I think that should come up in the item on the agenda where it's confirmation of agenda items.
We have, let's see, public, no, not that one. Let's see here.
Yeah, agenda modifications. I'm trying to get there.
Any other than agenda modification? I mean, is that what you're, okay.
Yes, that's correct. Apologies. I was trying
So
to
then-
pull this up as well.
We will do that right after the Pledge of Allegiance then. Excellent. Okay. So if you're willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we will now move on to agenda modification, of which we will move one of those closed session items to after our meeting this evening. I just want to ensure there's consensus among the council.
Yes.
Yes. And Councilmember Nomura?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. We will now move on to introductions, proclamations, and presentations. Item number 4 is postponed to the September 28th City Council meeting. And we will move on to item number 5, which is a proclamation recognizing and celebrating the 50th anniversary of the California Coastal Act. I would like to open up public comment on this item. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for a motion.
I move to adopt the proclamation of the City of Carpinteria recognizing and celebrating the 50th anniversary of the California Coastal Act.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion passes. And we will begin reading the proclamation with Councilmember Solorzano.
Whereas in 1972, the people of California approved Proposition 20, the California Coastal Zone Conservation Act, establishing that the protection of California's coast and ocean is a paramount concern for present and future residents of the state and nation, and
Whereas in 1976, the California legislature enacted the California Coastal Act and the State Coastal Conservancy Act, creating a visionary framework to protect, conserve, restore, and responsibly manage the state's extraordinary coastal resources while providing for carefully planned development. And
Whereas the California Coastal Act established a unique partnership between the California Coastal Commission and coastal cities and counties, including the City of Carpinteria, through local coastal programs that balance local decision-making with statewide goal of protecting California's coast for the benefit of all. And
whereas the California Coastal Act has safeguarded public access to and along the shoreline, protected environmentally sensitive habitats, preserved agricultural and scenic lands, supported sustainable coastal economies, and enhanced the quality of life for millions of Californians and visitors. And
Whereas the city of Carpinteria is home to one of California's most treasured coastlines, where beaches, wetlands, coastal bluffs, agricultural lands, and marine resources contribute to the city's environmental health, economic vitality, cultural heritage, and community identity. And
whereas the city of Carpinteria is home to one of California's most treasured coastlines, where beaches, wetlands, coastal bluffs, agricultural lands, and marine resources contribute to the city's environmental health, economic vitality, and cultural heritage and community identity. And
whereas the city of Carpinteria is recognizing the importance of continued stewardship of its coastal resources through collaboration with residents, community organizations, local businesses, regional partners, and state agencies to address emerging challenges, including sea level rise, coastal erosion, climate change, habitat protection, and equitable public access. And
Whereas the California Coastal Act continues to provide the policies and tools necessary to preserve California's iconic coastline while supporting resilient coastal communities and ensuring that future generations may enjoy and benefit from these invaluable natural resources. And
whereas the city of Carpinteria proudly joins communities throughout California in recognizing the lasting legacy of the California Coastal Act and reaffirming its commitment to protecting and enhancing the coast for generations to come. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Carpinteria hereby proclaims 2026 as the 50th anniversary year of the California Coastal Act in the City of Carpinteria and celebrates 5 decades of coastal stewardship, public access, environmental protection, and community partnership. And we'd like to request for representatives from the California Coastal Commission who will accept the proclamation. Welcome. Yes?
Thank you so much. My name is Jackie Phelps, and I'm a district supervisor in the Commission's Ventura office, and I'm one of the staff members that is fortunate enough to work with the City of Carpinteria. So yes, thank you so much for honoring the 50th anniversary of the Coastal Act, which is the visionary law that set the standard for coastal resource protection and stewardship. As we all know, California's identity is profoundly linked to the enjoyment and preservation of its 1,200-mile shoreline. The California Coastal Commission is the agency that implements the Coastal Act to protect that shoreline so current and future generations can experience the incomparable beauty, inspiration, and joy of a healthy, vibrant coast. In the 50 years since its passage, the Coastal Act has proven to be one of the most effective and resilient environmental laws in the country. Its strong resource protection policies have provided the legal foundation to preserve tens of thousands of acres of natural lands, create thousands of public access ways, and support a 51 billion, it's a big number, it's a $1 billion ocean-based economy. However, none of this could have been accomplished without strong partnerships and collaboration with local governments like the City of Carpinteria. Locally, the Coastal Act is carried out through implementation of local coastal programs, which empower local governments to make decisions for their coastal area. In fact, across the state, local governments approve about 90% of permits for development in the coastal zone. Nearly every section of coast enjoyed by the public today is the direct result of one or more of those decisions based in the Coastal Act. The trails are walked, the waves are surfed, and the vistas are open for all to enjoy. Looking ahead, the Coastal Commission remains committed to our mission of stewarding a healthy, resilient, and accessible coast for all Californians, and we hope that celebrating past accomplishments will help to inform and inspire the next 50 years of coastal protection. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. And Ms. Phelps, we'd love to present you with the proclamation and take a photo in the front.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mindy's going first. Got it.
We will now move on to item number 6, which is a proclamation honoring the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center's 25th anniversary.
Oh, and Mayor, if I can interject, out of an abundance of caution, I will recuse myself from this item as I am now a member of the Carpinteria Arts Center Board of Directors.
Great, thank you. From 2001 to 2026, and I will now open up public comment. I do not have any speaker slips for this item. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment, and I will ask for a motion on behalf of the council.
So moved.
Okay, we have a first. Can we please have a second? I will second it. No issues with seconding. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion passes, and we will begin reading. I will begin reading the proclamation. Whereas the city of Carpinteria recognizes. Wait, is this the right one? We have a lot of proclamations this evening. Whereas since opening its doors in 2001, the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center has served as a welcoming cultural hub in the heart of downtown Carpinteria, dedicated to creating a vibrant community through the arts by providing opportunities for creative arts, education, exhibition, appreciation, and community gathering, and
Whereas for 25 years, the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center has enriched the lives of residents and visitors by offering diverse educational programs, exhibitions, performances, concerts, camps, workshops, and special events that inspire creativity, celebrate artistic expression, and foster lifelong learning for people of all ages. And
Whereas the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center has remained committed to ensuring the arts are accessible to all, providing scholarships, community partnerships, affordable programming, and inclusive opportunities that strengthen connections among individuals, families, artists, and organizations throughout the Carpinteria Valley. And
whereas the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center has become a trusted gathering place where creativity, collaboration, and community thrive, supporting local artists, encouraging cultural appreciation, and serving as a vibrant venue for civic, educational, and community events. And
whereas the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center has become a trusted gathering place where creativity, collaboration, and community thrive, supporting local artists, encouraging cultural appreciation, and serving as a vibrant venue for civic, educational, and community events. And
whereas the Linda Fairley, whereas the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center celebrates its silver anniversary, it continues to look forward to the future with commitment to expanding access to the arts, strengthening community partnerships, supporting artists and educators, inspiring creativity for generations to come.
now therefore be it hereby proclaimed that the mayor and city council of the city of Carpinteria do hereby recognize and congratulate the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center on the occasion of its 25th anniversary, celebrating a quarter century of service, creativity, education, and community enrichment. The city extends its sincere appreciation to the Art Center's dedicated staff, board of directors, volunteers, teaching artists, donors, members, partners, and supporters whose vision, generosity, and commitment have made the Art Center an invaluable asset to the Carpinteria community. And I'd like to invite Executive Director Christina Calkins up to the podium.
I am so excited to celebrate all of you with you on September 12th. And Mayor, thank you for planning to come to that event to share the proclamation with the wider community. We can't quite fit everyone in our council here. For 25 years, the Art Center has grown and served more and more people in our community. And it actually started before it was a nonprofit as a dream of some artists. They created a gallery called Step One because they knew it was just the first step in becoming a community arts center. And so thank you so much for the honor, and I hope you all can mark your calendar on September 12th. We're going to have a very special unveiling of our teen mural project. It involves black light and glowing paint. So our celebration will be in the evening from 5 to 8. So I hope everyone can come. And we're looking forward to the next 25 years and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd love to take a photo with you as well.
And there's several volunteers and board members that are here. If they'd please come up at this time to get a picture.
Yes, absolutely.
You can get Monica. Okay. You got Al? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. You can thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking. And I just want to thank our city attorney for providing me with that guidance. I just want to be sure to appear as impartial as possible and not give any illusion of bias. So
Great.
I want to make sure that the community understands why I recused myself.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Solorzano, and thanks for being flexible there. Yeah, I didn't see you sneak back in.
We will now be moving on to item number 7, a proclamation designating August 21st, 2026 as Senior Citizens Day in the city of Carpinteria. I would like to open up public comment on this item. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for a motion.
I'll move to adopt the proclamation designating August 21st, 2026 as Senior Citizens Day in the city of Carpinteria.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. And we will begin reading the proclamation with Councilmember Solorzano.
Whereas the city of Carpinteria recognizes older adults as valued members of our community whose wisdom, experience, service, and lifelong contributions have enriched our city and helped shape the welcoming, connected community we enjoy today, and
Whereas Senior Citizens Day provides an opportunity to honor the accomplishments, resilience, and continued engagement of older adults while recognizing their important role in strengthening families, neighborhoods, and our community as a whole, and
Whereas the City of Carpinteria is committed to fostering opportunities for healthy aging, lifelong teaming, learning, social connection, volunteerism, recreation, and community participation through its Age Well Senior Services Program, and
Whereas Age Well Senior Services Program offers a wide variety of classes, wellness programs, educational opportunities, social events, nutrition services, and community partnerships that help older adults, including me, remain active, independent, and connected. And
whereas the city celebrates the many volunteers, caregivers, family members, community organizations, and staff whose dedication supports the health, dignity, and well-being of Carpinteria's older adult population, and
whereas recognizing and investing in older adults strengthens our entire community by promoting inclusion, intergenerational connections, and a high quality of life for residents of all ages.
whereas Senior Citizens Day is nationally recognized and provides an opportunity to honor the contributions and achievements of older adults across the United States.
Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Carpinteria hereby proclaims August 21st, 2026 as Senior Citizens Day in the City of Carpinteria. And I would like to ask Program Coordinator Jenna Jenkins to come up and receive this proclamation on behalf of the city.
And I'm going to invite Roz to come up with me. City Council, Mayor, and staff, thank you so much. This means a whole lot to me because we are talking about a population in our community that has the voice to speak up when something needs to be heard, and they have the history of our community, and they have the dreams for its future. They have the wisdom that really only comes with time and experience. And they've got the spice that keeps us on our toes. You know who you are back there and here. But most of all, they have the passion that helps make Carpinteria what it is today. So acknowledging them and our aging adults is so important to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Roz wants to say a couple words.
Well, I just would like to thank you for the proclamation, so well put. It encompasses everything that I had hoped seniors would be recognized for. And I thank you for the Age Well program, and I thank you so immensely for this lady right here who has done an incredible job putting forth programs, putting forth ideas, and just making it all work. And I will never miss an opportunity to say again that I'd like to see a senior center, brick and mortar building in the city of Carpinteria. I feel we deserve it, as so many other communities have. Other than that, again, thank you so much for the recognition.
It's definitely a team effort by so many people. But I have some of our wonderful Age Well members, and I would love to have them come up for the photo if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Age Well members, come on up. Or anybody.
And Mayor, I apologize. We do have one raised hand that came in a little late. I believe it was for this item, so,
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to open that back up and for this item.
all right. We have Lisa Gurvitz. Lisa, go ahead.
Yes, hi, congratulations to the city and the Age Well program, but I also wanted to give a shout out to Rory's Ice Cream for offering seniors free ice cream on Friday. That was really a delight. So thank you all.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, I will officially close the public comment section, and we will now move on to item number 8, which is a presentation by the Chrisman California Island Center.
Hello, Mayor,
Hi,
council
welcome.
members. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Taylor Viens, and I'm the new. Oh, thank you. So, if you want, or the rest I can do it. It's perfect. Just have to use the wheels. Thank you for having me here. My name is Taylor Viens, and I'm the new executive director of the Chrisman California Island Center. Some of you surely know our founder, Marla Daly, and I'm working closely with her, but very excited to take the reins over there. So, as you know, in our backyard, we have the Channel Islands. Absolutely magical spot right here. I like to ask now if people have been out to the islands, but I will go on from that. Our goal at the Chrisman California Island Center is to provide a gateway to the islands, remove some of the barriers to entry, whether that's time, energy, other resources. We have removed admission costs from the center, and we are hoping to be more than just an additive to the experience of going to the islands, but also to present an opportunity to people to experience the history and the wonder of the islands who perhaps might not be able to make it themselves. Here we have a quick overview of the 8 islands. I won't get into too much of the history, but I'd like to start at the beginning of the Santa Cruz Island Foundation. That was founded by Dr. Carrie Stanton, and his assistant, Ms. Marla Daly, has taken the reins for the last 40 years. And the Chrisman California Island Center is a home to all of the artifacts and history dating back almost 200 years from the Santa Cruz Island Foundation. I usually also like to ask if anybody had met Dr. Cary Stanton before his passing, but I will keep on going on. I like to ask this because it's quite an interesting trench of life, if you will. He was living like a Victorian gentleman out there on Santa Cruz Island, all while overseeing one of the largest cattle operations in the county, over 54,000 acres. All of his property and real estate there on Santa Cruz Island did transfer to the Nature Conservancy. It's still there as a closed nature preserve. However, his personal effects have transferred to the center, and all of those can be seen there on the corners of Carp and Linden. So here we have the Chrisman Center. Has anybody been to the Chrisman Center before? We've been open 2 years. And it's in the old Bank of America building. I know it had a life as a bank before that. Fun fact, that was the most robbed bank in Santa Barbara County while it was open. We've only been there 2 years, but I'm happy to report we have had no robberies. So here's a picture of the outside of the center. You'll notice a beautiful mural by beloved local artist John Woolbrent there on the outside. We are open from Wednesday to Saturday, and the archives are open by appointment, very accessible. Admission is free, come one, come all. So it's important to state that our focus isn't only on the Channel Islands right here off our coast. We consider all California islands, including the Baja Islands, and then also the Farallones up north. So we're home to 500,000 objects, books, archives spanning almost 500 years of human history, and admission is free. I like to mention that a lot. We are an educational research center as well. Obviously, we have these beautiful galleries, and each has an exhibit to each separate island. But also, part of our mission is to forward research as well as the preservation of history in California Islands history. So, whether that's from prehistory, we have relics from, the Chumash period. We have Juana Maria, the lone woman of San Nicolas's donut stone. That's original. We have some pygmy mammoth artifacts, and then we also have a huge amount of artifacts from the ranching and human history on the island. As I mentioned, our archives have over 500,000 items, original things dating back over 200 years, with the lone object going back 500 years. And that is all available to our community by appointment. We have permanent exhibits on each of the islands, as I mentioned. We also have a painting of Richard Diebenkorn, a gallery of Richard Diebenkorn paintings. We have 33 on view out of our 43 in the collection. These are seminal and very important to California history. He was friends with Dr. Stanton, quite interestingly, and painted many things while he was out on the islands. We also have an Island of the Blue Dolphins exhibit that's very friendly for all ages. We have West of the West, a documentary that Santa Cruz Island Foundation produced in 2016. We have webcams live on all of the islands, which is very fun to see, how things are going out there. And then a full ham radio station set up. Right now we have a marine debris exhibit done in conjunction with CSU Channel Islands, and we will be having an opening on October 9th. I invite you all to come. I'm pointing out some select collection highlights here. We have the last surviving bottle of wine made on Santa Cruz Island, which is quite interesting to see. We have a lot of worked abalone from the ranching history time, whether that's, cufflinks, bolo ties, buttons, cutlery, you'll see. And a lot of the ranching equipment, some incredible examples of leather work done on Santa Rosa Island proper. We also have a native plant garden in our courtyard. We have benches of each of the islands that are to scale and relative to their size where they are. You can find many endemic species that only grow out on the islands there in our courtyard, which is, a great way to whet the palate and get excited about, what you will see out there if you get the chance to make it out there. And we also have a space for community activities, presentations, events. Please inquire. We also are looking to invite members of our community to get involved, whether that is just to come through and see what we have. We also have opportunities for private tours, educational events, community speakers or docents if anybody would like to come and get involved in that way. We are working on increasing foot traffic right now, so please tell your friends, and I will leave some materials here on the table as well as my business card if you would like to follow up further. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And just before you leave, I'll ask if any council members have questions. Oh. Mr. Baines, I think we might have some questions for you if you can, from the council, if you can come on over to the dais. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation.
Actually, not a question, but thank you for coming back anyway. I just wanted to thank you so much for presenting this information. I think that it's a great way to get the word out more to the community. It sounds like you said the admission is free. And then what were the hours and again?
That is 10 to 4, Wednesday to Saturday.
Great.
However, if there is, response from the community that we'd like to expand those hours, we're absolutely happy to.
Great. Okay, thank you. And just again, thank you for sharing more information about this resource for the community.
Absolutely. We're proud to be a part of the Carpinteria community.
Any other questions from council members? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you kindly.
And I'd like to open up public comment on this agenda item. I don't have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
We have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment and we will move on to the presentation of the Carpinteria Community Pool Fundraiser Kickoff.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I'm really excited to be here this evening to officially kick off the fundraising campaign for the Carpinteria Community Pool Project. I also have with me our two aquatics coordinators, Lexi Pursoon and Kaylin Pina, who I sincerely thank for just running the pool so fabulously each and every day, the junior lifeguard program, the beach, and helping with this project and the fundraising. So we've talked quite a bit about the pool over the last year or so, but tonight I wanted to give you just a quick overview of where the project stands, what still needs to happen, and most importantly, introduce our community fundraising campaign and how people can get involved. Just as a little bit of background for those who may not know, this project really started in spring of 2025 with the facility needs assessment. From there, we issued a request for proposals, brought 19 architects on board earlier this year, and this summer, they recently completed the schematic design. What we learned through this process is that this really is an infrastructure project. There are certainly some things people will see when the project is complete, but a lot of the work is the not so exciting but very necessary stuff that keeps a pool functioning. This includes the pool deck and gutters, mechanical equipment, chemical feed systems, the pool heater, and accessibility improvements, including restroom improvements and American with Disabilities Act shower, ADA shower. The pool has served this community for a long time, and the goal of this project is to make the investment now so that it can continue serving the community for many more years. So where do we go from here? Schematic design is complete, as I mentioned, but there's still quite a bit of work between where we are today and construction. The next steps include design development, the creation of the construction documents, review through the Division of State Architect and Health Department, permitting, bidding, construction, and ultimately the project closeout. I do want to emphasize what is noted on this slide in the bottom right is the timing and ultimately the scope of the construction are contingent upon funding. That's really why tonight's fundraising kickoff is so important. Here you can see a tentative project schedule. Currently, 19-6 is in the design development phase and will soon begin working on the construction documents. The plan as it is laid out right now would put construction beginning at almost exactly 1 year from today. And again, and I cannot stress this enough, the project scope and therefore the timing are again contingent on the funding. If we are not able to raise enough funds to complete the project in its entirety, we may need to scale it down, do the project in phases, which would shorten the closure of this construction, but would result in additional closures down the line when funding was secured to make the additional improvements. Before I talk about the public campaign, I want to recognize that we are absolutely not starting at zero, which is just incredible. We have already had some incredibly generous community members and foundations step forward to support this project. I want to recognize the Alice Tweed Toohey Foundation, the Bliss family, the Ann Jackson Family Foundation, the LaCentra Summerlin Foundation, and Marilyn Jenkins for their grants and donations to date. I'm incredibly grateful for their early support. Having people willing to invest in a project at this stage gives us a really strong foundation as we open the campaign up to the broader community. And I think this also demonstrates how important this pool is to the community. And that brings us to Keep Carpinteria Swimming. Our fundraising goal is $3.3 million, and we have partnered with the Santa Barbara Foundation, which is serving as our 501c3 fiscal sponsor through the CARP Fund. But rather than talk through everything on this slide, I'm going to hop over for a moment to the website and see what we have been working on. And I apologize, I did not queue this up sooner. So here at keepcarpswimming.org, you can see the history of the pool, vision and upgrades, contact, and some FAQs. I want to acknowledge this design was made by one of our lifeguards, Danny, and we appreciate his contribution to this project as well. Here, funders, or anyone rather, can click to donate today, and this will take you directly to the Santa Barbara Foundation link. And then we will be updating our goal as it progresses and include any updates on the project as well. Here you'll be able to see some of the items that are in need of the repair. This is a pool deck, stairs, the diving blocks, the worn tiles, and the worn deck. And finally, as part of the campaign, we put together a short video that I think does a much better job than I can of showing what community pool means to Carpinteria and why this project is so important. So I will play that brief video for you right now. For over 30 years, generations of Carpinterians have grown up swimming in this pool. But this pool did not happen overnight. It took years of hard work, community support, fundraising, and grant funding to bring it to life. Today, it's where kids take their first strokes, seniors find their rhythm, and neighbors come together every day.
This pool means a lot to me. I grew up swimming here at the age of 8, and I've been able to go through these programs. I started with swim team and then transitioned into high school swimming, and it's just been one of the greatest joys of my life.
But after decades of use, the pool needs critical upgrades to remain accessible and open. This pool was built by the community. Now it's our turn to protect it for the next generation. Just like before, we can't do it alone. If you're able, donate today, spread the word, and join the effort to keep Carpinteria swimming. You'll see a lot of familiar faces there of staff current staff who grew up swimming in the pool, including our very own Lexi. So we're really excited to finally share this campaign with the community, and starting tomorrow, we will be getting the word out more broadly. There is obviously a lot of work still ahead of us, but I'm excited about where we are and incredibly grateful to everyone who has already helped get us to this point. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions from council?
In terms of the donation structure, is it basically anyone can donate any amount, or is there a threshold of what people need to donate?
Vice Mayor Solorzano, through the mayor, absolutely anyone is welcome to donate any amount, and we would be incredibly grateful.
And then in addition to the donation link, will there be other fundraisers, or for example, or from what I recall, there were plaques at one point or names that individuals in the community could purchase and put their name on the wall? Is that something that you all are considering?
Yes, Mayor Alarcon, yes, it's definitely something we are considering. I recently reached out to the original artist of the tiles that are on the donor walls as they exist right now. Unfortunately, have not been able to hear back, so I am looking for an artist who would be able to match the style, the font, the color. It's very specific, so that it's a cohesive look. If needed, we will be launching the tile or fundraiser, if you will, for lack of a better term. We're also working on selling some T-shirts for additional fundraising, possibly doing events at the pool that could solicit donations at them. We have a lot of ideas that we've kind of been talking about to go along with the different seasons, to bring people to the pool, see what's going on, perhaps do a community day, which was a wonderful idea brought to us by one of our water aerobics instructors, to bring people to the pool, not just to see what programs we offer, but also to see what this project's about and what is the pool renovation will look like.
Great, thank you.
But definitely more to come.
Any other questions from council? Okay, no questions. I will open up public comment. I do not have any speaker slips on this item. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
Okay, I'll close public comment. And I'd like to just say this is a great way to kick off this campaign. Thank you for all of your hard work. I know this is quite a big undertaking, and I'm looking forward to see what else comes out of this. And it's nice to see that we have $350,000 to get it started.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to item number 10, which is the first district supervisor's report. Welcome, Daisy.
Good evening, Mayor Alarcon, council, staff, public, hello. Okay, I am going to circle back to housing, the housing update, and I'm going to start with the cannabis updates. So there is a new cannabis odor complaint and testing dashboard that the county rolled out. It's a map with identifying locations of cannabis odor complaints and nasal ranger testing, and there's a lot of mostly in real time, up-to-date information about where this cannabis, the cannabis odor complaints are coming from and what the testing looks like. So definitely check that out. Community members, again, can always report those complaints through the county website. So those links are in the update. The next thing I wanted to mention was Winter Storm El Nino prep. The county is aware that it's coming, and we're all reading the same reports that everybody else is. So they're rolling out a bunch of campaigns across the county, North County, South County, to inform residents about what they can do to be prepared and what the county is doing to be prepared. So residents are encouraged to figure out if they live in a flood zone, pay attention to the weather forecast, definitely sign up for Ready SBC alerts, and then do some home maintenance, folks. Clear your storm drains, clear your gutters, move important things to higher ground. Know how to shut off the water and the gas and the electricity at your house. There are a lot of links and checklists on the county website, and I dropped a lot of those links in this update. So there's a county storm preparedness website. That's countyofsb.org/PW for Public Works, PW-storm-preparation. That will kind of be the home base for all this information. But one thing that I wanted to emphasize is that there's a real-time data from Santa Barbara County Flood Control that includes live basin cameras that are updated all the time. So you can see what the Santa Monica Basin looks like and what it's doing, and it's currently dry as a bone, but it has been raging in the past. So definitely check that out. You can see real-time rainfall, real-time water level gauges. So the hydrology section of the county website is pretty impressive. So definitely have that bookmarked if you like to look at that stuff during floods. Okay, like I said, please register for SBC, Ready SBC alerts. And there's links on there about sandbag locations and availability as well. Seems kind of insane to talk about during this heat wave, but it is good to be prepared. Another thing I wanted to mention is that most homeowners insurance does not come with flood insurance, flood damage insurance. So the National Flood Insurance Program website, it is administered through FEMA, but there are programs available for people to apply for flood insurance. So that's property owners, renters, and business owners. So you can check that out, the National Flood Insurance Program website. And on the website, it says that these policies can take up to 30 days to go into effect. So check it out now if this is something you're interested in. All right, some upcoming opportunities for residents. 3CE is the Central Coast Community Energy Program, and they can help community members reduce their energy bill, assist with some home energy efficiencies, and coordinate financial assistance programs. So if you're a Southern California Edison customer, which would be everybody here, you can contact the 3CE folks about those programs at southsupport@3ce.org. Again, I put the links in this update, so there's a lot of information on the website you can look at too. The last fun opportunity is Poetry Out Loud. It's a national competition, but it's facilitated through schools. So it's essentially like a spelling bee, but it's for poetry reading, and it's for students. So the local high schools can organize this program. They have until September 30th, and students who do not have the program in their own school can contact the County Office of Arts and Cultures to learn about how they can participate as well. And I did want to shout out that the Santa Barbara County champion from 2021 and 2022 was from Carpinteria High School. So I think it's time we brought that back here. Alrighty, and some upcoming Board of Supervisor meetings that I think are of items that are of interest to the Carp City folks. On the 25th, tomorrow, our new county CEO, Jana Peterson, will be there. She's just starting. She took over from Mona Miyasato. So Jana is starting her first board meeting tomorrow. So if you want to tune in and see what she's like, tomorrow's a good time to do that. And then on September 1st, there's going to be an El Nino preparedness presentation by County Flood Control. So a little bit what I talked about, but much bigger and more countywide. That'll be put on by the County Flood Control Department. And that meeting will also have a utility scale solar amendment that is being voted on. This is something that is all about how are we bringing more solar to Santa Barbara County. Initially, utility scale solar, which is 30 acres or more, was confined to the Cuyama Valley. So this solar amendment is about expanding that and thinking of all the different places and the new acreage that we can use solar within the county. So it's something that Director Bobroff and Mindy Fogg have been in touch with our office about, and with County Planning and Development about how to notify Carp City when there are projects that are on the edge of the county and the city, and what that would look like for notifying and whatnot. So that's a big deal. That's what's being voted on. So if anybody's interested in the future of solar in Santa Barbara County, tune in on the 1st of September, next Tuesday. And then the last thing that's coming up is on the 15th of September is the phase out of county oil and gas. So the board voted to begin the phase out of what oil and gas looks like in Santa Barbara County. And it will probably be a many years phase out, but the first hearing on that is September 15th. So for folks interested in the future of oil and gas in the county, tune in. Okay, I'm going to circle back to housing. There's no project application for what's commonly referred to as Van Wingerton 1 and 2 over at the high school. Nothing to talk about there. The project at Cravens Lane, no update. The applicant is addressing feedback on that project. So the Baylord project, which I assume is what we have this great crowd for, that is still being put together by the developer. So Redtail is the developer of that place, and they submitted an application on the 1st of June, and on the 30th of June, it was deemed incomplete by the county. So it is an incomplete application. They are predominantly addressing access issues. So that is what they are addressing. I have seen on Nextdoor, I've been sent some posts, and there is a lot of information in those posts that are great questions, and that's what these developers are figuring out. How do you have a development with only one entrance and exit? You don't. So they're figuring these answers out right now. They are working with the county, they're working with the fire department, they're working with the city. So that is what's all being addressed right now. So part of the reason that the project hasn't really come to light yet is because it's not really good enough yet. So that's, okay, good, we're on the right track. So just to be clear, there is kind of three components to who weighs in on this project. There's the county, where the project is being made, or where the project is being built, and the county is the one that holds the decision on the building and what the building structure looks like and how it operates and the safety of that. The city, and I don't want to speak too much for what the city does, but my understanding is that the city handles the city side of the development. So that would be the ingress, egress, that's the streets, that is the infrastructure that would provide to this department, or to this development. And then the third entity is the HOA, Casitas Village, that's right there. And Casitas Village is working with the developer. I don't want to say working with. I don't. Okay.
I'm sorry, so I'm just gonna interject real quick, and I will ask the crowd to not interject or say anything while we have a speaker. Everyone will have an opportunity to make public comments, so I will encourage you all to do so. But in order for us to get through this presentation and hopefully get to your questions, I'll just ask for some. I'll request no commentary in the background. Thank you.
Working with was the wrong terminology. The developer is responsible for interfacing with the HOA, specifically over the Pandanus alley roadway section. That is the responsibility of the HOA and Redtail to work through that. The Redtail team has met with the HOA, some of the board members, has met with the general manager, and has met with the HOA's lawyers a couple times. Our office has been in those meetings mostly just to listen, but those meetings have happened. So I would definitely suggest anyone that's an HOA, is a Casitas Village resident, to reach out to their HOA board and to their general manager to chat with them about what you want to see coming up. So those are the three entities: the county, the city, and the HOA. Something that we have heard a lot about in this room, and that Councilmember Nomura has brought up a number of times, is impact fee sharing. So how is it that the county can collect the development impact fees on a property that all of the infrastructure will be coming from the city? Great question. We have never really seen this. We asked Planning and Development at the county if there's an example of this in recent years, and the only one that they could recall was a project out in Goleta. So it really has not happened in the past. So I'm happy to say that on September 17th, the city reps and county reps will be coming together to discuss what that looks like. What would the impact fees be as best as we know? What would the mechanism be for that? The developer is not part of that discussion because they don't need to be, because they just have to write the check. So they will not be part of that discussion. So the development impact fee sharing, we've heard you and we are working on it. The last thing I wanted to mention is that the county website for these development housing projects is not very navigable. They are very technical, and you have to dig into Acela, and it's difficult to navigate and understand what the status is, et cetera, et cetera. So Director Bobroff and I and Mr. Ramirez, we have discussed how we can be a little more transparent. So we're going to put information about this project on the city's website, and we're going to make sure that we've got the plan, the architecture plan that was submitted, even though it's not up to date, but that will be the plan. We will have the evacuation study that was done, and we will have the traffic study that was done. So we'll put those up with a list of frequently asked questions. I think that'll be helpful to try and get some of this written down in a kind of layman's way to explain it. And I will definitely be taking notes to incorporate tonight. I'll be taking notes tonight to incorporate a lot of the answers to a lot of the questions that I presume will come up tonight. So that is my update on everything. Does the council have any questions?
Any questions from council before public comment? Okay, no questions, but there will be, I'm sure. Okay,
I'm ready. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we will begin public comment with Mr. Carl Sonkin. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I am Carl Sonkin. I'm a resident of the Casitas Villages. I'm a relatively new resident of the Casitas Villages, and I'm seeing exactly what this Red Tail project is potentially going to do to us. The access, the amount of parking. We don't think that the parking that's included in the project will prevent cars from leaving the project and trying to fill our streets, which are already oversubscribed. The emergency access, we fear there's going to be, or at least I fear there's going to be another Palisades fire evacuation. Limited streets and limited ways of getting out of the project. It's not going to be good. Having said all that, we look forward to having more meetings, and we would definitely like to be part of the meeting that's coming up between the city and the county in September. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Miss Betty Jepson.
Good evening. My name is Betty Jepson. I'm here speaking against the proposed Red Tail development. This project was originally rejected by the city of Carpinteria, which actually sent the city administrator and assistant to Sacramento last year to speak against it and submit a 75-page report to the California Coastal Commission about why it should not be built. I know that because I sat through 6 hours of that. It has only one fire exit via Baylord, which would also be used by all the residents of Villa Del Mar, as well as the 280 units at Casitas Village. In an attempt to remedy this, the project threatens to take a portion of Casitas Village land, which is private property, and they dare to keep calling it Pandanus Alley. Let me make this clear. It is not a city street. It is a driveway. It belongs to Casitas Village. It is the only way for people who live on Birch to exit their driveway and get out. So it is not Pandanus Alley. It is not a city street. It is the Birch driveway. That's it. And everybody keeps calling it Pandanus Alley to make you think it's a public street. The project would add excessive amounts of cars to an area that is already lacking in sufficient parking, and in which people are already parking in fire lanes when street parking is exhausted. And this happens every night. I drive through the Casitas Village alleys to get out, and it is like a slalom course. They park right in the fire lanes. That's before this is built. The meetings with the developers, we have heard them say, well, an emergency will never happen. We don't have to worry about that. Well, that's simply not good governance. Emergencies do happen, and government representatives like you good folks need to protect our residents. In the event of a fire, which we have had many that have resulted in evacuations from Casitas Village, people need to be able to get out. We have heard that in that case, each unit is only going to take one car. That's what the developer says, but that's simply not so. In the event of a fire, each person old enough and able to drive a car will take a car with as much personal property as they can possibly squeeze into it in the time permitted. This project is out of scale to the area and will wreak havoc on the infrastructure of Carpinteria City, including fire, police, and utilities. Look at what it's going to do to your utilities, and should not be allowed to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. James Nichols, welcome.
I would just like to add to what Betty, my name is James Knuckles. I live on Baylord Avenue in Casitas Village. And before I start, I'd just like to say there was already an evacuation order issued in 2017, and people were trying to evacuate Casitas Village and Villa Del Mar because of the fire in the Thomas fire. So that's already happened. So, okay. So good evening. I'd like to address the grossly inadequate parking of the proposed Redtail development at the end of Baylord Avenue. The Baylord Avenue evacuation assessment that was prepared on behalf of Redtail shows that the Redtail development will have 196 units with 297 parking spaces with no street parking. That works out to 1.5 parking spaces per unit, and that's grossly inadequate. In comparison, Casitas Village has 2 parking spaces per unit with considerable street parking, and in the evenings, the street parking is completely full. Villa Del Mar also has 2 parking spaces per unit with the same considerable street parking, and in the evenings, their street parking is also completely full. These streets where the parking is completely full include Baylord Avenue, Birch Street, Hickory Street, Poplar Street, the Pandanus Street in Villa Del Mar, Palmetto Way, Jacaranda Way, and both sides of Villa Real. The parking is saturated because there are 3 to 4 cars per residential unit. And there is no reason to believe that the situation will be any different with Redtail. If the Redtail development averages only 2 cars per unit, Redtail will be short 100 parking spaces. That's 100 cars parked on, or forced onto surrounding streets where the parking is already full. If the Redtail development averages 3 cars per unit, Redtail will be short 300 parking spaces. That's 300 cars forced onto the surrounding streets where the parking is already completely full. Because of Redtail's inadequate parking, hundreds of additional cars will be forced to try to park on adjacent streets where the parking is already completely saturated. This parking nightmare will be a disaster. The Redtail development will leave hundreds of people with no place to park. So what happens when hundreds of people can't find parking? Well, they have to move somewhere else where they can find parking. People simply can't live there if there's no place for them to park.
We're over time, Mr. Knuckles. If you could take the next 10 seconds to finish your comments, please.
Okay. All right. Redtail, all this is because Redtail won't provide adequate parking for their residents. And this leaves Redtail takes their profit, and they leaves all of us with the disastrous consequences to deal with later. And this is why I'm against Redtail, the Redtail development, and this is why you should be against it too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Tristan Rayner. Tristan Rayner, welcome.
I'm a resident of Casitas Village, and I'd like to tell you about our condo complex, which was built as worker housing and is mostly Hispanic. The people who live there, the vast majority, have trucks and cars so that they can go to work in Montecito and clean houses, so that they can go to cottage hospitals and clean rooms and serve patients, and do gardening jobs in our area and other essential work. They leave early in the morning, all at the same time. They come back in the evening. When they come back, they are tired and they need a place to park. Right now, it's almost impossible for all of them to park. They get ticketed, they get fined, they get notices from the HOA. Can you imagine what is going to be like when there are when there are an additional 500 possibly cars needing to find parking places? Our people, because they have multiple families who have thrived in our community by everybody getting along with each other and being kind to each other, they work with each other now. When you have an apartment complex, and by the way, these are not condos, these are apartments being built. Don't confuse that. When you have 197 apartments built, 35 of which will be affordable housing, you are not going to have the peaceable community that has been there and the thriving community where many generations, because it's so expensive to live here now, live in 847 square foot apartments. That's the size of them. And there are sometimes 3 generations living in that same space. They do it because they make the best of the situation. But there is such a thing as a tipping point. And this development will be that tipping point. I want to mention something else. Our supervisor, when he was running for office, we asked him about his opinion about this development. And we feel misled because he represented that he was against it. Some of us met with him privately before he went and voted for the development as our supervisor, one of his first acts. We were also told by Daisy, who was at that meeting, that within 2 months, there would be town meetings, there would be information given to the residents. None of that has happened. It has been impossible for us to get information. Now we have seen a report that was given to the police department.
You're over time, so I'll ask for you 10 more seconds to wrap up, please.
That report is inadequate and misrepresentative of the entire situation, and an independent report not paid for by the developer needs to be done.
Thank you for your comments. Cindy Marcus, welcome. Cindy Marcus.
Hello, thank you. I'm Cindy Marcus. I am an owner at Casitas Village. My condo faces the Birch Alley. Birch Alley is private property. I want to stress that. It is not a street. It's not a city street. Redtail is, they think they can just come and take private property. That alley is the driveway to the unit that I own and all the units on Birch Street. All the garages face that alley. With all those, if there were an emergency exit and people had to get out of there, nobody would be able to get out. They couldn't get out of their garages. They couldn't get out of their driveways. It's very dangerous. I also want to say that, I'm really disappointed that the city opposed that project, and now all of a sudden they've turned around and they're misrepresenting what the project is going to do to that complex, as well as all the streets that go in and out of that area. There's, all the units at Villa Del Mar, there's all 280 units at Casitas Village, and now you want to add like another almost 200 units. It's the safety of the people who live there is at stake. And I've heard people, I'm also on the board, I've heard people complain that they couldn't get out during the 2017 fire, and the congestion was terrible. So the fact that they're saying, oh, there's never going to be an emergency, there has already been one. So I really want to stress that this needs to be dealt with. And, if the city can now talk to the county and tell them this project should not be there, it needs to be in another place. The developer needs to stop lying about what the situation is. And we have had numerous problems with people parking in fire alleys, in the fire alley, in the fire lane, because they don't have a place to park. And so the problem needs to be dealt with. It's not just going to go away. Thank you.
Rogelio Delgado, welcome.
Rogelio Delgado. I live on Baylor Avenue. I own a condo since 1998. I have come to city council meetings and complain about the development. I complain with the school board about the development because I was there with them. I was a board member when this was brought to our attention back in 2017. Transaction was done, 4.2 million. Now, escrow closed last year on this development. It's under general fund for 4.2 million, and that's been used to compensate the sex abuse victims of the 70s. To me, it's a done deal. It can be delayed for lack of access, a year or two, but it's a done deal. The parking, I have complained before you 3 or 4 times. It's right now, try to find a parking space right there. You won't find it. You won't. There's 545 units, Casitas Village and Villa del Mar condos. Indeed, 2 parking spaces per condo. And count the parking spaces. Not enough. One question that I have, because the developer didn't even have to use the builder's remedy. No. The rezoning was approved by the supervisors and by the Coastal Commission. So that meant a done deal. I understand I'm mad. I've been mad for 9 years. Thousands of letters before this becoming a fact were put aside by the Coastal Commission. The reason, because they had new members and they were not aware of the fact. So thousands of letters that had been written by people were just ignored, thrown away. And only a few letters went through. And the Coastal Commission moved the hearing in Los Angeles to Sacramento so that fewer people could attend. Once again, it's sad, very sad. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Delgado. I do not have any other speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
Okay, so I will close public comment, and I will ask Daisy if she'd like to answer, if you have any potential updates or maybe summarize some of those concerns, and I will give the council an opportunity to ask some questions if they have any.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for all the comments, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I'll work on getting a lot of those frequently asked questions out. I heard a lot about access and emergency access. I heard a lot about the evacuations and the plan for that, and how that would be addressed. I heard a lot about parking, and what kind of parking solutions there could even be for what's currently happening. So I appreciate everything, and the understanding of the rezone and the builder's remedy versus rezone. So those will just be a portion of the frequently asked questions that we will work on getting out quickly onto the city website. I think it'll be helpful to have it on the city website as well. Any questions?
Questions from council? Seeing no questions?
Well, so it sounds like there's going to be, is it a link to the project from the city website? Because I also want to be sensitive to residents not thinking it's a city project.
It's not a city project.
Yes.
We'll make that clear. I think it's just helpful to, the city has a great section on their website with, I think people are pretty used to looking at that. But there'll be links to all the county pages that will have things. There'll be contacts for folks at the county that will answer all these questions. And we'll make very clear what the city of Carpinteria is looking at versus what the county looks at. So that'll be clear. So it is graciously being hosted by the city council, or the city's website. And honestly, if you feel that that's not the best place for it, I would love to hear that as well. So we can find another spot.
Great. And then for some of the folks that have comments that were either not able to make it here today or who want to say more, where can they direct those?
Roy Lee at countyofsb.org.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, Daisy, great job. Thank you for working on that development impact fee. That's going to help us a lot. It shows concession. One of the suggestions I would have, I wouldn't say recommendations, but suggestions at this time, is to maybe see if in fact we can develop that committee, that subcommittee at SBCAG to talk about negotiating how these projects will come forward in the future. I know we're talking about one right now that's impacting Baylor, but we have a number of other ones with potentials for even more coming into those same regional areas with the same challenges that we're going to be facing with this one. So if you get surrounded, literally surrounded, with county projects, we need to have some sort of guidelines on how those are going to be addressed, handled. This is not going to be just parking, but it's going to be all of the above. We're also looking at the overall impact if we end up doubling the population size of Carpinteria Valley. That's going to be a huge impact to us. And if that does happen, we need to make sure that we have everybody on board to support those efforts.
Yes, I agree. And just as a reminder to everyone, the reason we are in this situation is because the state of California created a housing mandate in the early 2000s. And so up until 2031, Santa Barbara County in the South County has to put in 4,142 units in unincorporated South County. In Carpinteria City, it's 901 units. In Santa Barbara City, it's 8,001 units in the city of Santa Barbara. The grand total for our county is about 25,000 units. No one asked for this. Not one person here asked for this. This was pushed on us by the state. So I'm with you, Councilmember Nomura, that we've got to figure out how to live harmoniously with these 25,000 units that are being shoved into Santa Barbara County.
And don't forget, this is also just an 8-year mandate. It's going to change again. Another 6 years, 5 years.
That's right. So there are efforts to tackle this at the state level, but right now, we, as in the county, as in the cities, the 8 cities in Santa Barbara County and the county itself, are grappling with 25,000 units, and what does that look like? And who's going to park here, and who are those 25,000 units going to be housed for and by? Hopefully, it's locals. Hopefully, it's people who already live here, and it's their kids and their parents. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're working towards. So I appreciate this suggestion, and I will work with SBCAG to start that housing subcommittee and just hopefully get that going. I think it was a great idea. So thank you.
And then Councilmember Clark, anything on your end?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. One thing on my end, I do feel as though there are a lot of times where I should speak just for myself, our hands are tied when it comes to this Red Tail project. And I think the council as a whole, along with the city, has written letters. We've gone to Sacramento, but oftentimes we hear issues from constituents that we can't necessarily address. And so one thing that I heard in those comments was the desire or need to speak with our elected official, our supervisor. And so my request also is that he do some sort of a town hall to work with his constituents around this. And I think the other thing that I want to make really clear, and Councilmember Solorzano mentioned, is that this is not a city project. However, and I will look to the city staff now, because there is, from my understanding, a portion that will come to the city, to the council in terms of, it might be in terms of the egress, ingress. And so I will look to city staff if you all can provide us with what that will be when it comes to the council and just where we're at with the project in general, because what I don't want is the impression is that we have a lot of say, even though we're at the table with the developers and the county. But I will look to staff to see if you can provide a summary, please.
Mayor Alarcon, sure, I'd be happy to. So you're correct that the bulk of the project, the actual project itself, is located outside of our jurisdiction and is within the county's authority. However, elements of the project, primarily vehicular ingress and egress, so the access to the site, and the utilities that would serve the site need to come through the city. And so Red Tail will ultimately need to apply for some limited permits from the city to improve that access and to run those utilities through our city streets up into the project site. And then they will also need to come to your council specifically to request an easement from the city to gain their vehicular access for their driveway site. I don't have a timing for when this is going to occur. We've been in talks with the Red Tail team and tried to map out, kind of what we see as being the steps in the process, but they haven't yet submitted an application.
Okay, great.
I just want to finish off by saying I love the idea of a town hall. We will absolutely have that meeting. Similar to how we don't know the timeline at the city, we don't know the timeline at the county. We're waiting for the project. So Supervisor Lee has said, I don't want to have a town hall meeting without a project that has even the basics of what is being asked, like emergency exits, et cetera. So that is part of the reason there hasn't been a town hall on this. These updates have kind of served as the update thus far, but I think it's clear that there's more questions, and so we will try and push the developer to give us something that we can present with and hopefully bring them along so they can answer all the questions.
Excellent.
Oh, well, one quick idea, follow-up to that is, I hear what you're saying, that the Supervisor Lee wants to wait until there's more information, but it sounds like the residents already have a lot of feedback that they want to give. So having a town hall even before all the other ducks are in a row, for the supervisor to hold a town hall here in Carpinteria would make the residents feel more heard, even before the project is submitted.
Great, thank you.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for your presentation, and I appreciate all the residents for coming down here tonight and making your public comments known.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to item number 11, which is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and community members. As always, I'd like to say that the city manager's report, we highlight it here in our verbal report, but don't cover every single detail and encourage people to look in there. There's also some helpful links for those that don't use, also from our earlier presentation on the pool, for those who don't use YouTube often and know that those closed captions are done by YouTube. We do know how to spell Carpinteria, and that was YouTube that did all of that, not us. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Ryan Kintz, to go over a couple items.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. So yeah, quick update on our current recruitments. So we currently have 4 active recruitments underway: accounting specialist / accounting technician, building official, engineering technician, and management analyst. The accounting specialist position is moving into the skills assessment phase, which we conducted this morning. Interviews are pending for building official, engineering technician, and management analyst. And then I do want to clarify that none of these are newly created positions or additions to city staffing. These are all existing, previously budgeted positions that became vacant as a result of staff departures, and we are now working to fill those vacancies. Additional information on these vacancies is available on our website, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Looks like there's no questions. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can give an update on the capital projects. Give me a moment to pull that up. So Carpinteria High School Area Crosswalk Safety Improvement Project. So construction of that project is ongoing. We did do some work last week to set it up so that it was safe for the start of the school year. So that work is done. And then, let's see. This temporary striping for the new crosswalk was also installed, and there's some additional work that will be done, including installation of the conduit and poles for the high-intensity activated crosswalk. That's the HAWK system. And then we'll be removing some of the roadway plates, the roadway paving, and then finally activation of the HAWK system and final striping. So that's all work that's pending, likely will occur over the next couple weeks. Happy to answer any questions on that.
I think that was my question, is in terms of when it'll be done, but it sounds like a few weeks, so soon.
The goal is within the next several weeks. I can't give you a firm deadline because we have some additional delays this week, but the goal is within the next couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah. And then what are some of the delays that have happened? What has attributed to that?
Yeah, happy to answer that question. So some of the delays are due to our coordination with Caltrans, and we're working within their right-of-way. They do have certain requirements that we need to meet, and after inspections that are done by Caltrans, they did identify some work that wasn't within their standards, and they requested that we update that work and ensure that we're within their standards.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, question for you there, Ryan, on this one, or a suggestion. We know that a lot of the roads right now are going through, I would say, redevelopment, trenching for the CAP project. I noticed there's quite a few of the busier streets, for example, Linden by the school area there, and also along Foothill where the lines have disappeared completely. And I've seen quite a few instances where cars are veering around having no idea where the lanes are going to be. So suggestion would be maybe we could talk to the CAP project, the contractor, and see if in fact they could put cones out at least during work time so that they know what's going on, especially during school time.
Councilmember Namor, that's an excellent suggestion. I'll transmit that information over to the project managers.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I'd be happy to support that also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same.
Great. Thank you.
With that, I'd like to next have our Community Development Director, Nick Bobroff, give some updates on development applications.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening again, council members. I've got just 3 updates here in the city manager's report for you this evening. First off, I wanted to share that Chevron has recommenced onshore decommissioning activities within the Carpinteria Oil and Gas Processing Facility. So they're back to work there on the onshore facilities. Currently, they're doing some pre-demolition abatement work in some of the structures that are to be demolished. And then they're also starting in on demolition of some of the in-ground structures and piping. Once those structures are removed, they'll be able to do a more thorough assessment of site conditions to help determine the extent and scope of soil remediation activities. We also expect that the limited beach work to separate the onshore pipelines from the offshore segments of the pipelines that previously was going to occur in the spring but was postponed is likely to occur sometime this fall. So the Chevron's still doing some coordination with state parks on that to gain access to the beach through the state park campground, but we're hoping that that'll be in place again for those cuts to be made this fall. I also wanted to share a little bit about the Santa Barbara County Flood Control's Carpinteria Salt Marsh Routine Maintenance Program. This went to the California Coastal Commission back on August 13th, and the Coastal Commission approved a permit to allow this program to move forward. Essentially, the program would allow for periodic dredging and removal of accumulated sediments from the Carpinteria Salt Marsh in order to maintain the flood capacity of the salt marsh. And it would also allow for the periodic opening of the salt marsh mouth to the ocean to improve tidal flushing and the water quality within the salt marsh. The program allows for beach-appropriate sediments that would be removed from the salt marsh to be deposited in the Carpinteria surf zone, either through use of a slurry pipeline out through the mouth of the salt marsh, and then it also allows the option for trucking of beach-appropriate sediments to Ash Avenue where it could be deposited into the surf line. Understanding that this is sensitive for the community, Coastal Commission worked closely with County Flood Control and the city to develop a suite of mitigation measures and conditions that are intended to make sure that the sediments that are deposited in the surf zone in Carpinteria are safe from a contamination or contamination standpoint. Also that they're of the appropriate makeup and size so that we're not getting a bunch of the cobbles and boulders like we've seen with some of the emergency sediment placements in the past. And then also and some ongoing monitoring to make sure that the sediments are actually creating a beneficial impact to the community. And so this is something that Flood Control has been working on for quite some time. It's kind of on a as-needed basis, so while this permit was just approved, we may not actually see Flood Control do this work for several years until the need actually arises. But again, the Coastal Commission did work closely with us and included coordination and permitting obligations with the city in Flood Control's path forward when they want to do these events. And then finally, I just wanted to share that we have tentatively landed on a date for the Surfliner Inn project and the accompanying final environmental impact report to be considered by the city's planning commission. That date has been set for a special meeting on Monday, September 21st at 7 p.m. So this is a little bit later than normal, but it's a single item meeting. That's the only item that will be considered on that agenda. It will be similar to a normal meeting, and that'll be held here in the council chambers. It'll be live broadcast. Folks that are interested can participate in person or via Zoom or submit written public comments ahead of the meeting. And it'll be live broadcast on television as well and through the city's YouTube page. We anticipate that the final environmental impact report will be made available to the public at least 10 days ahead of the hearing. We expect that it'll actually be out sooner than that, and that the staff report would be published no later than Thursday, September 17th. And again, we're targeting to actually have the staff report out sooner than that, but that would be the, kind of the deadline that we have to fall back against. And we'll have all of the staff report materials and the environmental impact report up on the city website as soon as they're available. And that concludes my city manager's report items, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Questions? Will there be hard copies of those reports also available at City Hall?
Mayor Alarcon, we can certainly make the staff report available as a hard copy for folks. The environmental impact report's a pretty hefty document, so I don't see us having printed copies of that available for the public to take home, but we will have a printed copy available here at City Hall and a printed copy available in the library if folks want to should go there and take some time to read it. Of course, it'll also be on the city website.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And Mayor, I wanted to add an item that is not in the city manager report, but has been promoted in our social. And want to just remind folks that next Monday, August 31st at 4:45 p.m. at Veterans Hall, the city will be hosting its State of the City event, Town Hall, where we will be discussing mostly the city's fiscal position. Questions will be both live and pre-submitted, and questions can be pre-submitted at communityinput@carpinteriaca.gov. Again, communityinput@carpinteriaca.gov. Spanish translation is available as well and will be live streamed on Zoom and YouTube. Formal presentations will begin around 5:30 p.m. At 4:45 p.m., we'll have tabling, and people will be able to come up and meet with the different departments and their council members. With that, I'd like to invite up our program manager for sustainability and environment to give an update on what's going on in that division. Sorry, Delaney, I think I forgot to say Delaney Millar.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I just have a quick update on the most recent Living Shoreline Project outreach event. On July 29th, tribal community members met with city staff and the project's consultant team from Integral Consulting and Strategic Earth. The meeting was closed to the general public and provided an opportunity for tribal community members to share guidance on meaningful tribal engagement throughout the project's planning and design process. Participants also offered perspectives and ideas to help inform the development of the Living Shoreline Project. Key areas of discussion included meaningful tribal engagement and stewardship, incorporating Chumash cultural knowledge and perspectives, and protecting and restoring natural resources and exploring nature-based approaches to a living shoreline. The knowledge and perspectives shared during the meeting are invaluable and will be considered as part of the project moving forward. Future opportunities for general community engagement and project updates will be shared through the city's newsletter, social media, and the Living Shoreline Project website. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Looks like no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, I'd like to bring up our Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Director, Jeanette Gant, to give some other community updates.
Good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Just a couple updates for the Parks and Recreation Community Services Department. Age Well will host its Dia de los Abuelos event on Friday, August 28th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Hall. This free, family-friendly event for Age Well members will celebrate and honor the cherished abuelos and abuelas in our community. Age Well members are also invited to a free Saturday excursion to the Carpinteria Valley Museum of History, located at 956 Maple Avenue, on Saturday, September 5th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Participants will tour the museum's new exhibits highlighting the history of our local coastline. For the community garden, the garden hosted an all-member volunteer day this last Saturday, August 22nd, from 9:30 to 12 p.m. Members came together to weed and mulch garden pathways, connected with fellow gardeners, and supported the ongoing care and maintenance of the garden. And there were approximately 16 volunteers that joined, and they filled an entire dumpster with green waste. So it was a really successful event. And I believe they said most volunteers stayed for about an hour and a half longer just because they were so energetic and into volunteering. So it was a really great event. And for aquatics, the city's junior lifeguard program recently wrapped up its second session and another overall successful summer session. And they hosted their swim, paddle, run triathlon on Friday, August 7th. This event gave participants an exciting opportunity to put the skills, strength, and confidence they developed through the summer to test in a fun and challenging competition. And this year, the triathlon featured both the junior lifeguard category, but also an opportunity for their parents to participate and compete against the junior lifeguard instructors, which was really fun. And we will have our aquatics team back to your council in fall to do the after summer report for you all.
Great, thank you.
Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Like no questions. Thank you.
And Mayor, that concludes my city manager report.
Great. Any questions for the city manager? Great. I will open up public comment, and we have a few speaker slips. The first one is Alan Koch. Welcome.
Meeting, council, staff. Want to make a comment about the Surfliner Inn project on the 21st. Okay. You know, in my 10 years here, I've been watching that project go from an RFP in August of 2017, LDDA signed in November 2021, approved application materials out August 2024, and now we're getting to a planning commission meeting. I have some concerns about that. First of all, I'm not sure why Nick said tentative. Maybe that's because the meeting is not even on the city website yet, but I just need a clarification why it's just tentative. Because I know how difficult it is to try to get everybody together for one of these big planning commissions meetings. And this is a big one because this is very, very different. Just considering the scope of this project, besides the EIR, that we're going to see a final version of that, which started, I believe, June of 2025. There's also, I believe, a conditional use permit, if I have the information correctly from Nick's department there, that needs to be approved because the city parking is going to provide parking for the hotel. Besides that, we have the normal, phase one, the new parking lot, referred to as Lot 4, needs to go through a consistency review. And then we have the hotel itself that the developer's building on Lot 3, and those plans are well known, and they already went through the ARB approval. I'm just thinking about starting at 7 o'clock, assuming you're going to have 25, 30, 40 public comments before you even get to the agenda. I'm not sure what a certification of an EIR, how long that takes for the planning commissioners, and then we have the complex project. I just don't understand why we're not breaking that up into a couple of pieces. Unless the intent of staff here is to continue it through until 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's too important of a project for the city to try to think that we could do it within one meeting that starts an hour and a half later than normal meetings start. So that's my comments, my concerns. Thank you for the opportunity.
Victor Garza.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd also like to talk about the Surfliner. This morning I shared with you an email that I received from the California Public Utilities Commission where they were addressing some safety issues regarding the proposed parking lot 4. Back in December of 2024, I shared publicly my concerns with the design of the parking lot. It was a long, narrow, dead-end parking lot with no dedicated turnaround, with the only entrance and exit on an arterial road on Linden Avenue. And having been a parking professional for 20 plus years with the city of Santa Barbara, I know that that kind of design at peak hours is going to create gridlock, which is then going to cause queuing out on the street, which could then cause queuing across the tracks. So unfortunately, my safety comments were not well received, and I also understood that at that time, nobody had reached out to the railroad about the project and how it might impact the railroad or vice versa. So in the meantime, the EIR process was underway. In June of 2025, the railroad sent, or CPUC sent, a letter to the city, pretty much echoing my concerns about the location and the way parking lot 4 is set up. Since then, I've been asking the railroad and city staff if there's been any response to that letter that the CPUC wrote. This morning, I did get the answer, and it was that in July of this year, there was a meeting, and a new plan was submitted for the parking lot. And the plan shows a one entrance only on Linden and an exit only out onto Elm, which seems to address the safety issues. So my question is, my understanding is that staff doesn't have to or is not legally required to share the plans and the revised traffic study with the public, but I'm also not aware of any plans that prohibits them from sharing that with the public. So my request to all of you is to direct staff to make that revised plan and revised traffic study available to the public now so that we can take a look at it and see how it differs from the original plan, and so we have time to understand it and then comment on it later. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I do not have any other speaker slips for this item. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
I submitted one.
Oh, for this item? I'm sorry.
Public comment?
No, this is still for item number 11.
So sorry. My mistake.
We're almost there, though. Do we have anyone via Zoom for this item?
We do. We have 2 raised hands, Mayor. We have one is Lisa Gurvitz. Lisa, go ahead.
Hello. I'm also commenting about the meeting for the Surfliner, and I was hopeful that that actually would be a tentative date because that's actually the first day of Yom Kippur. And I know that the city several years ago put a lot of time, money, and effort into a whole program about diversity and inclusion. And I'm hoping this was just an innocent oversight to not choose the most sacred of all Jewish holidays throughout the whole year as the date for this meeting. And maybe please take that into consideration before you finalize the date. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
And the next speaker is Andy Patrick. Andy, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, and good evening, Mayor and council members. I'd like to talk just briefly about the strategic plan. With all due respect, because I know that, there's been work put into it. It seems a little bit of a checkbox strategic plan to me, meaning that the boxes have been checked, so to speak. Public meetings were held, community input was gathered a little bit, goals were named, et cetera. But making choices, establishing priorities, and defining measurable success has, from what I can see, been avoided. I've written a lot of strategic plans in my days, and the plan that I see explicitly says its goals are not prioritized. Many objectives rely on words such as enhance and strengthen and develop and explore without providing any baseline, any measurable target, any deadline, or any clearly accountable individual. So it's a little bit of a rah-rah document from my perspective. That makes the description of the city departments intend to work on rather than a strategy for what Carpinteria most needs to accomplish. Or example, like just one quick example, expanding engagement with Spanish-speaking residents is an important goal. Yes, absolutely. But how much improvement are we seeking, and by when? And how will we measure this? Whether residents are informed and participating and being heard. So there's none of that. It's just kind of like this statement. It seems, well, I don't know, the same question applies to fiscal sustainability. It's what measurable financial condition are we trying to achieve by June 2027? It's not stated. It's just that we'll, I feel like Jimmy Stewart or somebody or Jimmy Cagney wants to put on a play all of a sudden. It's like this rah-rah thing. So anyway, I respectfully ask that the council add a simple accountability appendix that identifies for each major priority the responsible person, the deadline, the required resources, the baseline, the measurable result. And the city should then provide residents with a quarterly dashboard of some sort, showing what is on track, what's at risk, what's delayed, why, how can we help? You know, I don't expect all of this to fall on you, city manager, and your staff. I mean, you have an entire city that wants these things. That's why the city should be involved in the details of this strategic plan. So to me, it checks boxes with measurable outcomes and accountability gone. So anyway, I ask for your attention to that, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
And Mayor, that concludes Zoom comment.
Okay, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for any questions or follow-up items. Nope, seeing none. Okay, I do have a question. I just want to, I know we received a lot of public comment in terms of the tentative date for the Surfliner in the EIR for September 21st. So I just want to ensure that we looked at all other alternative dates possible. So if you guys could just walk me through your process to ensure that that really is the best potential date for the city that we were able to come up with.
Mayor Alarcon, yes, thank you. I've got Mindy Fogg up here to kind of help, since she was instrumental both in helping get the project ready for Planning Commission and trying to help us find a date that works for all of the parties that are necessary to bring this project forward. But I will just kind of kick things off by saying, yes, we went through an extensive exercise to try to find a date that matched up for city staff, the planning commissioners themselves, the applicant team and their various representatives, when the council chambers was available, when the TVSV folks were available to do the broadcast. And we were really struggling to find a date that aligned for everybody within about, I want to say a month, so several weeks on either side of this September 21st date that we ultimately landed on. And that ended up being the only date that everybody said they were available for. Mindy might have some more to add there, but that's really it in a nutshell. We really tried to exhaust every other option before ending up on that date.
Thank you.
Yes, I think Nick basically said it all. And for the person who called in, we wanted to make sure that we tried to avoid Yom Kippur as best as we could. It does run from nightfall on the 20th until nightfall on the 21st. And our hearing does begin right after sunset on the 21st. If we do go forward with that date, as a caller said, it is still tentative because we did a courtesy save the date to all interested parties ahead of time. We don't usually book a date, a month in advance, but we do want to get those materials out soon. So we are looking to do that within the coming weeks and to give everybody plenty of notice. And if someone does need some additional accommodation because they're observing that holy day, we do want them to contact staff. They can contact me or any of our leadership team, and we will do everything we can to help them get their comments heard. If we need to read their comments aloud at the Planning Commission or make a time certain for them to be able to comment, we would be happy to do that as well. So we welcome that opportunity.
Great, thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we will now move on to public comment on matters not on the agenda. And we will begin with Mr. Carl Sonkin.
I hope I'm not being a pest here. But I was going to also, as far as Yom Kippur is concerned, yes, that's right, it ends at sundown, but people will be having been fasting all day. They will be breaking the fast. So it could be problematic. The other problematic thing that I wanted to address was that if the current situation goes on with red tail. And we're talking about several hundreds of cars. And then we're talking about a fire evacuation. I'm really frightened that those several hundred cars are going to join several hundred other cars from the Villa Del Mar and the Casitas group. And we're talking about a huge group of vehicles attempting to get away from a fire. And so I think that when you talk about, or when you think about access, or when you are faced with the issue of access and leaving, you've got to consider that. It's going to be a huge number of vehicles all leaving at the same time to try to escape the flames. And that is going to be difficult. That's basically what I wanted to offer. Thank you.
For your comments. Alan Koch.
Good evening again. My comments are related to a document that the applicant delivered at the board retreat, the UCSB Santa Barbara Economic Forecast Project associated with the Surfliner. I took an opportunity to go through that, and I sent out my public comment, I believe, yesterday. And I'd like to just get a high-level summary of what's going on here, because I think it's another step in the final step that we need to take, okay, in the sense of validating the potential revenue streams from the Surfliner being built to this directly to the city, TOT tax, lease payments, and sales tax, incremental sales tax. So my first finding related to the economic study is that's a very sophisticated economic model that shows the potential economic impact locally, county, state, federal. Okay, and I took a screenshot of like table 3, the economic impact for the entire project in Santa Barbara. Well, the direct impact, the first level, which is really directly to the city, what's important to that model is the employment, number of people that are being employed, because it takes the payroll of those people and then runs it through their model, which in the sense of that payroll will be used to spend money. So then, that's just neither here nor there as to what we're trying to ascertain here. What's the revenue in light of our structural deficit problem that we're having with our budget? So when you look at table 3, in total, $67 million. Wow, big number, big number. It's just, it's not related to really what we need to do here. We being, the citizens, the staff, okay, and getting the right information back to the council as to what numbers should be shared. So that was my first overall finding, that it's not an appropriate kind of model. And the other thing they have here is when you look at the summaries, it's 6 years. So it looks, I don't know why they didn't use 10 years. They would have had a bigger number. I mean, to be facetious a little bit. So that was one point. But within there, they did do a TOT tax kind of a study, and that was on page 17. And the first caveat there was, we're doing this study outside of the economic model that I just referenced. Okay. And page 17 has a calculation done by them, and they use some estimated room revenue numbers. Okay, just give me another one minute. I see my clock is up.
Okay, thank you.
And that came out to like close to the $500,000 a year. Okay, that is on the developer's website. So the sales tax one, couldn't find really anything there. So my closing, in the sense here, is that during this process, which is after the development review process, after Nick's department, it goes back over to Ryan and Michael. in the sense of closing out the LDDA and getting a position that whether we're going to sign a general lease for 55 years. We still need to have those conversations, and we still need to validate those numbers, okay?
Thank you for your comments.
Especially in light of, if the 1.4 million is reliable during the council's effort about the structural deficit, that should be out there as an opportunity. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Tristine Rainier.
I want to again address this recent study of traffic and safety that Redtail had done, and that they have submitted to the fire department, who they've been communicating with about allowing training for the fire department to go on there. The fire department has not spoken with the residents. We have not had any input into this. However, we did see an incomplete copy of that safety and parking report, and that was paid for by Redtail. I want to give you some red flags here. I've done some research on Redtail Development and Apartment Management Company, which is a national company, very large. They have many, many lawsuits against them. They also have an F rating from the Better Business Bureau. You can look it up, Redtail Management Complaints. It's the same company, same address as our developer. It leads me to believe, since there are so many complaints there about tenants saying they were lied to, not getting their money back, slum conditions in their apartment buildings, cheating people, not allowing people who are in Section 8 to live in them. It leads me to question how reliable this report, paid for by Redtail, is. And I'm wondering what we can do to get an objective report written. Can the city commission that? This begins our costs for this development. What do we do? Does this simply go to the county? The county accepts it? This is all that's necessary? I don't know how this works, but I'm very worried that we are getting involved with a company that we are going to have continuing problems with in terms of how reliable their reports will be. And I have to say that I am so disappointed in Daisy. She did promise us that within 2 months we would have meetings with Redtail, with the developer, with the supervisor. She has heard the things that she said she heard today, and when I tried to explain to her the parking situation, she made a personal attack on me. She said, "You must be a very negative person." Now,
I'm sorry, you're over time, so if you can take the next 10 seconds to finish your comment, please.
I'm uncomfortable with this report, and I'm asking City Council how we get a more objective report.
Thank you for your comments. Betty Jeppesen, welcome.
Hi. Thank you very much, Mayor and City Council members. I want to say that you have more power than you think. In fact, you are the last bastion against this developer. You don't have to accept the permits. You don't have to grant the easements. You can demand reasonable return of information. You can demand what is reasonable for your citizens. The developer is going to develop this, take his money and run. And what are we doing this for? 196 units, 35 of which are going to be affordable. That's only 35 units. The other 161 units are astronomically expensive. And the developer's been told that's fine because you have to use those units to pay for the ones that are economical. So we're only talking about 35 units here. It is reasonable for you to make a demand for things that are necessary for the safety of the citizenry. And if it becomes too expensive for the developer, he will go away. So you have a tremendous amount of power, and you should please use it. You know, the Red Tail developer came to the city first. They were rejected. Then they went to the county. And now I understand that once they get where they want to be, they're going to ask the city to annex them so that they are in the city of Carpinteria by the back door. And I don't think that a link to the city, to the Red Tail development should be on the city website. It shows too much that you are in favor of it. It's like Daisy said, we met with the developer and we're working with them. We are not working with them. We are trying to defend our driveway to our people who live there, and also I want to tell you that Casitas Village and Villa Del Mar, they are the workforce communities. The people who live at Casitas Village are, as Justine said, gardeners, you know, workers who need economical housing. We are still the least expensive two-bedroom condo in the county, and that's why they have lots of cars. We have allowed 5 people per unit, and so they have 5 cars because they work. They have to get there. And what happens is, in the past, those people moved from Casitas Village to Villa Del Mar because Casitas Village is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit structure, and Villa Del Mar is a 3-bedroom. I've witnessed that from my own unit. And that's what they do. But this development is not going to be for the workforce. It's going to be 35 units for the workforce and 161 units for the very wealthy. And it should not be just pushed through. Please, I was on a committee once with someone who said very appropriately, please don't just rubber stamp this. Thank you.
Cindy Marcus?
Betty just said what I was going to say, is that you don't have to approve their easements if they're going to be using city amenities and you don't have the money from them to create these things. You do have a lot of power. And I was wondering, why aren't you using it? You know, because this is going to affect the city of Carpinteria. And the developer doesn't care. Are going to take their money and run. And, you know, I just don't understand why the people that are running the city are bowing down to them and letting them do things that are going to affect the city of Carpinteria majorly. And, you know, unless you know that they're going to be putting up the money for the infrastructure, for more roads, for more whatever it is that you need, you know, to provide for them, you shouldn't be just rubber stamping this and saying, oh, okay, we have to approve this. You do not. You need to find out how this is going to affect the city, what it's going to cost, where is the money going to come from, and if you're not going to get answers to that, or the money, or they're not going to have the exits that they need to make it safe for the residents, you need to, you know, say no to their easements. That's what I think. I don't know why you can't. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Rogelio Delgado?
Thank you, Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. I have in my possession the measure one. It says on June 22nd, 2026, the Carpinteria City Council voted to place a quarter-cent sales tax measure, now known as Measure U, and that would be for street and roads, public safety, parks and programs, fiscal priorities. I wish that it could have been written in Spanish as well. It says on the second page, way at the bottom, para leer el folleto en español, visite, it's the city's website. Came back to the comment. On November 3rd, people will vote in support or against the 0.25% sales tax increase. Staff, city council members, community, all have to do a better job at reaching to people to support the increase. Remember what happened last time? The landscape services, it lost. Use all social media available to you, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Coastal View. Don't forget Hispanic people. Reach out to them in Spanish. They can make the difference. Use social media quite often. Sometimes people get the message after the 6th or 7th time that they read you or see you with your message. The second point, on housing, indeed, there is a state mandate for housing in Carpinteria. However, the mandate doesn't state that the bluffs are included. Please correct me if I'm wrong. However, there's no defense against the builder's remedy. And that's why the bluffs and the 18-story building on Ogan Street, in my opinion, are facts. Projects will be delayed for years, but I think that nothing can be done. Can anyone inform the community how to stop a builder's remedy? How could have been avoided? These housing developments will not lower our house or local housing problems. No, a lot of these units will be acquired by outsiders who have the resources. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I do not have any other speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council if you have any other questions or follow-up. Okay, seeing none, we will now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the consent calendar, and I will open up public comment. We do have a speaker slip for number 16. I can do the comments, right, for all of the consent item? Or should I pull it?
Mayor Alarcon, if there's a comment for one item, you can do it at this point, but if the council wants to further discuss any item on the consent calendar, I would recommend pulling that item.
Okay, so for the council, this item is authorize the purchase of 30 standardized trash receptacles from forms plus surfaces in an amount not to exceed $85,749.21. Is there any interest in pulling this item to having more details at this time? Okay. Yeah, we do. But I'm just curious to know if anyone wants to pull it for more information.
Mayor Alarcon, you can get the public comment and then make that decision as well.
Okay, great. So I will open up public comment. Victor Garza, you are up.
Madam Mayor, Council, I don't have any objection to the purchase of new trash cans, but in light of the fiscal situation that we're in with the budget, my thought was that here's an opportunity. Well, back up. You know that we've been attending the Finance Committee meetings, and what I've been learning is that, like a lot of municipal budgets, it's complex. It's got a lot of moving parts. It's a dynamic thing. And with these staff reports, you have an opportunity to educate the public, assure them that, educate them about where the money's coming from, how it's being spent, what the status of the revenue sources are, what program, what department's handling it. All that kind of stuff can be included in the staff report, so that when we come to Finance Committee and ask questions, the answers are there. And we don't have to dig around and try to find out where certain monies are coming from. The other thing that surprised me about this particular report, and it's not a huge amount of money, but the finance director doesn't have a signature on there. So I think you need to take a look at that and maybe start a different practice where you include more detailed information so that the public can be assured that we're sticking with the budget and that we're making good decisions. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for those comments. I do not have any other speaker slips for the consent calendar. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
We have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment and then bring it back to the council. If anyone would like to pull that item or more information. Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a motion from the council to approve these items.
Comment on 20 also.
I'm sorry. Come on up, Victor. Item number 20. I'll reopen public comment.
Didn't want to yell. A similar comment to 16, but I also want to add that this was a big one, 719,000, and I was concerned that it's on the consent calendar and not on an administrative item. I think on a decision like this, the department head or the program manager for this activity should be present, available for council member questions, walk them through the process, explain the history behind, in this case, the RFP process, what was done before, what's being done now, are there going to be any improvements, is there increase in level of service, yada, yada, yada. That stuff's not in the staff report. And maybe doesn't have to be, but if it's administrative, at least you have a chance to ask that person what's going on. Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, now there are no other comments. And just double checking, Brian, we don't have anyone via Zoom that may have raised their hand as well since I
That's
reopened.
correct. Still no raised hands.
Okay, so we'll close public comment. I'll bring it back to the council.
That being said, I think item number 20 does merit a standalone action item on that one. I had some questions on that also.
Okay, great. So we will pull that item, and can we move it over to?
There's a section there for that.
Yep, I'm looking for that section now.
Mayor, it's right after public hearing. It's consideration of any items removed from consent
Perfect.
calendar.
Thank you. So making sure there's consensus, we will move that item after item number 21. Okay. Great. So I am still looking for a motion from the council on the consent calendar. Items 12 through 19.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held July 27th, 2026, and the special meeting held July 28th, 2026, to receive and file the warrant register for the period of July 20th, 2026 through August 14th, 2026, pursuant to the Carpinteria Municipal Code, Section 2.08.150F, to receive and file the report on contracts executed by the city manager for the period of July 7th, 2026 through August 3rd, 2026, to receive and file the monthly city treasurer's report on compliance with statement of safekeeping and investment of public funds for June 2026, to authorize a purchase of 30 standardized trash receptacles from Forms Plus Services in an amount not to exceed $85,749.21, to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with the County of Santa Barbara to participate in the Community Hazardous Waste Collection Program, providing household hazardous waste collection services to Carpinteria residents and qualifying businesses, To authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Tripepi Smith Talent Solutions for strategic planning services, increasing the contract amount by $19,600 for a new total contract amount not to exceed $54,875. To authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 4 to the agreement with Dudek to complete the CEQA documentation for the Rincon Multi-Use Trail Project in an amount not to exceed $23,918 for a total amended agreement amount of $252,818. And to move item 20, to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Showscapes, Inc. for landscape management services in an amount not to exceed $719,640 to the portion of the agenda for consideration of any items removed from consent calendar.
I'll second that.
And thank you for reading all of that. We have a first and a second. I will request a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Solorzano,
Aye.
Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Namura,
Aye.
and Mayor Alarcon.
Aye. And before we move on to administrative matters, I will ask for a 10-minute break, and we will be back at 8:10. Thank you. Hello all, and welcome back to the Carpinteria City Council meeting. Today is Monday, August 24th, and it is 8:13 p.m. And we will resume our meeting with administrative matters, beginning with item 21, which is the consideration of resolution number 6491, approving appointments to the Community Development Block Grant Committee.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I've got this item tonight. So there are currently 3 vacancies on the Community Development Block Grant Committee. 2 are at-large members and 1 is an alternate at-large member. A notice of these vacancies was posted on the city website and at City Hall in accordance with the MATI Act. The city received applications from 5 interested applicants. All applicants have been invited to attend tonight's meeting and some are here. Following this presentation, the mayor will open up comment for the applicants, and if they choose to speak, and then the mayor will open up public comment on this item. Since the number of applicants exceeds the number of open positions, each council member will rank their top 3 candidates using the ranking sheet provided for you at the dais. With the first candidate ranked as 1, second candidate ranked as 2, and third candidate ranked as 3. Council members' rankings will be tabulated and the results shown, and the council can proceed to adopt resolution number 6491, appointing the top 3 candidates. And that concludes my presentation, Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions from council? Okay, so we will begin with hearing from our candidates. Just pulling up the list. Oh, I can use this. Carly Bass. Yes, welcome.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Alicon, council members, and staff. My name is Carly, and I wanted to just take a moment to introduce myself and share a little bit about my background. I've lived in Carpinteria for over 16 years, and I've worked in the nonprofit sector here in Santa Barbara County for more than 20 years. During that time, I have served in a variety of roles with multiple nonprofits, organizations throughout our county. I also have a master's degree in organizational management for nonprofits. Currently, I work with a private family foundation here in Santa Barbara County, where I oversee grant-making, nonprofit partnerships, and community investments across a wide range of sectors. My experience working on both the nonprofit and funding sides has given me a strong understanding of the challenges organizations are facing, as well as the importance of thoughtfully and responsibly allocating limited resources to best serve our community. I'm also actively involved in Carpinteria community. I serve on the board for Catalina Elementary, as well as the board for our local AYSO program, and I volunteer with multiple organizations throughout the city. These roles keep me closely connected to local families, school, youth programs, and the day-to-day needs of our community. I really want to just take a moment and say thank you for your consideration. I would be honored to bring both my professional experience and my perspective as a longtime Carpinteria resident to the CDBG committee, And I also look forward to learning from other committee members and working together to make thoughtful decisions about how our resources can best serve the needs of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Manicky? Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm Jean Manicky, and I'm assuming that each of you had the opportunity to look at my application and my resume, so I'm not going to rehash all that for you. I do want to tell you that I looked at everybody's resume, and I was just really kind of stunned at the quality of candidates that this drew. I think that speaks well for Carpinteria, and it's exciting to think about being in that group. All 5 of us have experience with acquiring grants and approving requests for grants. The one quality that I bring to this table that the others don't is my legal training and my experience. Some folks will argue that lawyers just get in the way of good planning, present company excluded. I understand that, and I respect the frustration that people have dealing with lawyers. But, you know, lawyers are trained to analyze proposals in terms of effectiveness, functionality, and potential success. We're skeptics, and we can be the strongest advocates you can find. I bring no preconceived notions and beliefs about any organization that might ask for funds. I have no prior history or conflicts with any organization that might come before this board. I too want to see controlled growth in Carpinteria. I'm concerned about the number of unhoused in our community. I want the children of Carp to have incredible opportunities as they grow up here. I want their parents to have jobs allowing them to feed their families and house their families here. And I want to find ways for the community to be a partner in making all that happen for them. So I look forward to the opportunity to work with the council as a member of this committee, and I appreciate your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I've still got a minute left. But I'm done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lois Mitchell.
Good evening. I am very impressed with people that went before me. I think, as was mentioned, you have some really good experience and expertise that's been offered here. And I was thinking that since you have more candidates than positions, that maybe some of the people that have offered their availability and services could possibly fill some other committees that you have that have some of the same needs. I'm not super particularly stringent about wanting to be on this committee. I just had read about it and thought, well, I have a lot of experience and in this area. I've overseen thousands of grants and lots of nonprofits. I serve on the Community Foundation in Santa Barbara. I'm a trustee. I've dealt with many private partnerships, and just feel that this was a way I could give back to my beloved Carpinteria. I've lived in Santa Barbara County for close to 45 years, and I'm happy to offer my services. So that's really all I have to say. I thought that if there was questions, I'm happy to answer any of those. So thank you.
Rosalind, welcome.
I am not going to reintroduce myself because I think the council knows who I am. I too do not have the vast experience as some of the former candidates. What I do have experience with is dealing with people and understanding people and youth, people of all ages, through many years of volunteering, from volunteering at Kleinbottle, which has to do with youth, to working in the Santa Barbara School District at some point and volunteering services there. And of course, my volunteering here in Carpinteria. I wanted to be involved in a different manner, and so this was very appealing to me. Not only do I care about humanity, but I also care about where our dollars go and how our dollars are spent. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No questions. Thank you. Susan Everett. Does she happen to be on via Zoom?
No, Mayor.
Okay. If we don't have any questions, I will now open up public comment. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
We have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment. And it looks like now we will complete our ranking form. Okay.
That's correct.
Great, thank you. And actually, can I ask a question, Brian? If you can just share a little bit about the committee itself and what they do and the purpose?
Sure.
I think that would be helpful with the ranking as well.
So the CDBG committee's basic duty is to review grant applications for CDBG funds, and that's CDBG stands for Community Development Block Grants. To review CDBG funds and to make recommendations to the City Council on which applications to fund and support the community's interests and help address identified needs.
Okay, and it looks like everyone's done. Yes. Okay, looks like all the scores are in. It looks like, and I just want to reiterate, we have 2 vacant positions and then another vacant position that is the alternate. If we go by the scores that are tabulated, we have Carly Bass, Lois Mitchell,
So those 2 would be
Roslyn.
the regular at-large members, and then the number 3.
would be the alternative,
Roz, yes,
Roslyn.
would be the
Okay.
alternate.
So I will put that forward to the council. I'm happy to get any other input from council members if they see otherwise.
Just one quick follow-up question. I appreciated the suggestion to, since there were so many good candidates here, can they maybe be notified of other currently open positions on other committees that they may be interested in? Because there was such a wealth of experience with this particular group.
So right now, the only other council advisory group that has some openings is the Integrated Pest Management Committee. So that one has 3 at-large public members open right now.
Okay, and then when do we next do choices for other committees so that folks can
So
redirect their applications?
The
to other
ideal
positions?
time will be around November, December, when we go to do the next 2-year cycle
Mhm.
for all council advisory group members. So that would be the prime time.
Great.
Actually, I really like that idea, and I'm wondering if we could, if you don't already, just have a list going so that when it opens up, you can shoot one large email out to past applicants.
Oh, of course, of course.
Perfect. Okay. Just ensuring no other conversation, discussion around members.
Just a quick comment. I've worked with the Hutton Foundation Orphala. I've done quite a few grants with them and assisted them in consultation of recipients, so appreciate the interest in actually taking this position.
So I'm happy to put the motion forward. If I could have a second one.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion passes, and I'd like to just say thank you to all of our applicants for coming out this evening and really wanting to get involved with the city. It's such an important piece of the work that we do, so thank you all.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I did not catch the motion maker and the seconder.
Oh, I was the motion maker, and Wade was the second.
Thank you.
Seconder. Oh, Al Clark was the seconder.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We are now moving on to consideration of any items removed from consent calendar and or other agenda items requested to be advanced. So we will be hearing item number 20, which is authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Showscapes, Inc. for landscape maintenance services in an amount not to exceed $719,640,000.
It's
a big number.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. The item before you tonight is consideration of a new agreement with Showscapes, Inc. for citywide landscaping maintenance services. Just a little background, Showscapes has provided city's landscape maintenance services since 2021. Their current agreement included initial 3-year term and 2 optional 1-year extensions, both of which the city exercised based on satisfactory performance and the city's positive working relationship with Showscapes. With those extensions now exhausted, the existing agreement cannot be extended any further. Consistent with the city's procurement policy, staff conducted a new competitive solicitation rather than simply continuing with the existing contractor. In May, the city issued a request for proposals for landscape maintenance services utilizing a qualifications-based selection process. The RFP was published through Beacon Bid and advertised nationwide, and the city received proposals from 4 firms: Showscapes, Forest, JAS Landscape, and Brightview. The proposals were evaluated based on the firm's overall qualifications and ability to perform their work, experience of their supervisory staff, responsiveness and availability, understanding of the city's scope and operational needs, and past performance on similar contracts. Following review of the written proposals, staff conducted interviews with all companies as well. Showscapes was determined to be the highest rated firm. Staff then requested fee proposals, again, from all firms, and determined that Showscape's pricing was reasonable and provided a cost-effective approach for meeting the city's landscape maintenance needs. The scope continues to include landscape maintenance at city facilities and properties throughout Carpinteria, including parks and open spaces, bike paths and trails, parking lots, parkways and medians, and other public rights-of-way. Street trees are not included in this agreement. As part of the RFP process, staff also took the opportunity to evaluate service levels and identify potential cost savings. Consistent with the city's efforts to reduce expenditures and minimize impacts to the general fund, the new scope reduces mowing and weeding frequencies at select locations where staff determined that a lower frequency could be accommodated without materially affecting the appearance or functionality of city properties. These adjustments result in a reduction in the city's monthly landscape maintenance cost from $23,300 to $19,990 per month. This equates to an annual saving of $27,720, or approximately $83,000 over the initial 3-year term. The proposed agreement is for an initial 3-year term with a total not to exceed amount of $719,640. Funding for these services is included in the adopted fiscal year 26-27 budget and would be incorporated into future budgets subject to council appropriation. Staff is therefore recommending that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with Showscapes, Inc. for landscape maintenance services in an amount not to exceed $719,640,000. This concludes my report, and I'm here and available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, actually, I've got a few questions on this one. I know we've used this company for quite a while. They're doing an outstanding job. However, I do have some comments, questions, or potential alternates that we may look at in the future, not immediately, but in the future. First off, the areas that they cover, they do an outstanding job with, but there's still some areas that aren't being covered under the contract. I don't know if those are actually part of their purview or scope, or if they're outside. As an example, the Linden northbound roundabout that gets on the freeway there, we still have weeds that are like 5-6 feet tall in there in some of the areas. They are the closest ones to the freeway, so I don't know if that's Caltrans' responsibility or ours. The other ones have been maintained much better than they were previously. So I did want to bring that up. The other possible idea that I would put forward is actually on the website, put work order areas in where they could, if residents in an area that could be used, could use some work, that they could actually just submit a work order to have those areas taken a look at or addressed. That way it saves staff time. You don't have to do it, just come straight into the a work order. One of the other challenges I've seen is a Tamil interpretive play area that was done all in native plants. Unfortunately, they take special care, and we've lost about 50% of those because of poor trimming and poor maintenance on it, basically. They cut a few of them too tight. Some of them, they actually cut at the wrong time, and there's a lot of water issues that need to be repaired or replaced. So again, something like that, we could probably just put work orders in, or even do walkthroughs. I'd be happy to do walkthroughs on some of the areas that are sensitive in habitat. Last part of it, actually as a budget item, we may want to take a look at having a neighborhood, actually volunteer sites where neighborhoods could adopt small garden portions, parkways, things like that. I know, for example, along Via Real, where Hales Lane is where I live, there's quite a few of the residents actually taking care of the green belt on the street side. They'd be more than happy to continue doing that, would be my guess. But the challenge or risk is that there's no liability on that. So we'd have to get some sort of city allowance or permit for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Nemore. Through the mayor, I took notes on all those comments. Just a couple things. For work orders, we do use GoGov. So anyone could submit a work order on the City of Carpinteria app on your mobile device or online. And that is where we get a lot of information because, as you know, our team is just a few people out there in the field every day. So we really appreciate residents letting us know when there's issues, and the team responds to them really quickly.
Do they have that on their carts, the electric carts, GoGov?
So the team has GoGov and the work order on their tablets, the Public Works team, but that only goes to city staff.
Okay.
And so then Ryan Airley, the Public Works manager, will dispatch staff each day based on GoGovs received, other projects going on, urgent matters, et cetera. But they do have access to that throughout the day.
Okay. And then the electric carts that are being used currently by, I think it's the landscape company, those are stored here, or do they bring them in and out?
Those, Councilmember Namora, through the mayor, Showscapes does not store their vehicles here. They do bring them in daily. I'm not certain where they store them, but I know it is not here in our yard.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
And then to just address your concern about Tamul, I definitely agree and understand the concerns. I did a walkthrough myself with Showscapes just a couple months ago. It was brought to our attention the water was inadvertently turned off. It was something that was on the state park side that we just weren't aware of, and they weren't aware it affected Tamul. The water's been back on. We'd repaired the irrigation issues because, as you mentioned, there were quite a few. So we're hopeful that with water, some of these natives will just come back, and then once we give them a chance to come back, we're gonna walk through with Showscapes again, if this agreement is approved, and address it. But we do want to give the natives a little bit of time with some water to come back on their own and then take another look at it to see what the issues are.
Okay, I think the Rotary Club is actually considering putting in a budget for a replacement also, so just to give you a heads up on that.
I appreciate
on the
that.
plants.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Regarding the bidding process, I was just curious if there were any lower bids from competent contractors.
Councilmember Clark, through the mayor, Showscapes was the lowest bid.
Yeah, thank you. There's information there extremely reasonable. Most of the other companies would be quite a bit more.
That's really helpful. Thank you for that question. I was going to ask that too. Any other questions? Okay, no questions. I will open up public comment on this item. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
We do, Mayor. Oh, we have one speaker, Andy Patrick. Andy, go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a quick question. I wonder if there was any research done, excuse me, any research done on bringing the maintenance in-house. At that amount of money, you know, it seems like maybe that's 7 to 9 people in terms of salaries, et cetera. I don't know, just a thought, and I wondered if you had pursued that at all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
And Mayor, that concludes Zoom comment.
I will close public comment. Actually, that's actually a really good question. Have you guys thought about that?
Yes, Mayor, we have, and Stephen Downs, our management analyst for the Public Works Department, has done initial research and analysis on this. And going in-house is an option, and it could be a cost savings option. We do want to spend some time digging into it further. The biggest, and I don't want to say hesitation, but pause is the upfront cost to purchase all the equipment. So we would need to purchase mowers, blowers, every piece of equipment that Showscapes utilizes. We would need to purchase upfront and then maintain and replace. So that's something that we would like a little bit more time to dig into, to really analyze and find where that upfront cost will come from. Because yes, to the caller's point, that is a significant amount of money, although I don't think it could support quite that many staff considering benefits and all that. It's definitely something we are actively looking into, absolutely.
Good.
Thank you.
One thing you might want to take a look at is actually breaking that down into 2 parts. Most expensive equipment that you're going to have are going to be the mowers and the large equipment, things like that. But many of the landscaped areas are stripped landscapes, so they're smaller in scale and size with less tools that you'll need to have. Outlay for tools like that will probably be 1/4 to 1/3 of what the cost would be to do park areas.
Thank you, Thank you, Councilmember Namora. Definitely take note.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll go ahead and do that one then. I move to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Showscapes, Inc. for landscape maintenance services in an amount not to exceed $719,640.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Solorzano?
Aye.
Councilmember Clark?
Aye.
Councilmember Nomura?
Aye.
And Mayor Alarcon?
Aye. We will now move on to other business, beginning with item 22, which is the consideration of resolution number 6492, approving the city council policy titled Naming Policy.
All right, I apologize, you guys are here with me for the next few items, so I'll do my best. Before you tonight is resolution number 6492, which would adopt the city's first formal naming policy. As council may recall, we held a workshop on this policy on July 27th. At that meeting, council provided direction regarding which city assets should be eligible for naming, the criteria that should be considered, recognition associated with significant donations, and the process for reviewing and approving naming requests. The policy before you tonight incorporates that direction. Historically, the city has considered naming and renaming requests on a case-by-case basis, albeit minimal. The purpose of this policy is to really establish a consistent and transparent process going forward, both for the public submitting requests and for staff and council in reviewing them. There are a few key components of the policy that I want to highlight. First, the policy identifies which city assets are and are not eligible for naming. Eligible assets include parks, open space, beaches, the community pool, trails, the community garden, recreational facilities, sports fields, dog parks, overlooks and plazas, as well as significant components of facilities such as playgrounds, rooms, gardens, trailheads, and pavilions. I want to add a caveat here that any land in the open space that's under the conservation easement with the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County would not be eligible for naming per that agreement, unless otherwise outlined in our agreements with the Land Trust. Consistent with the council's direction at the workshop, the policy specifically excludes City Hall, the Carpinteria Community Library as a whole, public streets, public art installations, and small non-structural amenities such as benches. Interior rooms or designated features of the library still could be considered. Second, the policy establishes criteria for evaluating proposed names. These generally fall into 4 categories: location, geography, and natural features, significance, events, places, and community history, outstanding individuals who have made meaning and lasting contributions to Carpinteria specifically, and in limited circumstances, major donations. An important point regarding donations is that accepting a donation does not entitle someone to naming recognition. Council retains discretion to determine whether a contribution is significant enough to warrant naming and whether naming an entire asset or perhaps a component of that asset is appropriate. So ultimately, it is up to your council to make those decisions. That also helps distinguish this policy from the city's donation policy, which has been approved, and the sponsorship policy that is also on tonight's agenda. Donations, sponsorships, and naming are 3 different forms of recognition. Naming is honorary and remains solely within the direction of City Council. Third, the policy establishes a formal review process. Requests would be submitted through the naming and renaming request form included with the policy. Staff would first review the application for completeness and consistency with the policy. Where there's an existing appropriate advisory body, the request would go through that body before coming to City Council. For example, a library-related request could go through the Library Advisory Commission. An open space or trail request could go to COSMAB, the Carpinteria Open Space Management Advisory Body. For requests where there isn't an applicable advisory body, a staff committee would be formed to review the request and make a recommendation to City Council. In all cases, City Council retains final decision-making authority. The advisory bodies and staff committee are just simply making recommendations. They're not approving the name. This policy also treats renaming differently from naming something that currently doesn't have an official name. So renaming requires a higher level of justification because an existing name may already have historical, geographic, or community significance. The policy establishes additional criteria for those requests and creates a preference for retaining established names unless council determines that the public benefit of changing the name outweighs retaining it. A renaming would also require at least 4 affirmative votes of city council, so a supermajority. Finally, the policy makes clear that naming does not create a permanent or vested right. Council retains the authority to modify or remove a name when appropriate, and naming recognition generally ends if the named asset is demolished, removed, relocated, or ceases to exist. With that, staff's recommendation tonight is that the City Council adopt resolution number 6492 approving the naming policy, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from council?
Just one quick question. So in terms of the significant donations, are we intentionally avoiding a specific percentage or threshold for that? And if so, then how would council determine what rises to that level?
Vice Mayor Solorzano through the mayor, yes, exactly. We, after giving it a lot of thought, back and forth, because the donations and the items may just range so widely, it was difficult to come up with a percentage or an amount because it could be, you know, a significant donation to one project is going to be vastly different to a significant donation of a much larger project. Ultimately, it would be up to your council to make that determination. There would be, the staff review of it, if there was a staff committee or an advisory body review of it to provide you a recommendation in helping make that determination. But yes, there's no set percentage or amount that would warrant, that is included in the existing draft policy.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And then it also sounds like there's also the opportunity for council to choose a portion of a larger city asset. And so that I can see maybe that coming into play when we try to determine the naming in that context too.
Absolutely, Vice Mayor Solorzano through the mayor. One example that was brought up when we were discussing and doing the workshop was, you know, the community pool. It's a $3.3 million project. If someone were to make a sizable donation, but, you know, perhaps not the entirety of the 3.3, your council could decide to, you know, name the lobby or a locker room after someone who made a sizable donation.
Great, thank you.
Quick question for this one, Jeanette. On the item number 4, criteria for removing name from a city asset, on that one there, I assume the first point would be a person or a naming of somebody that potentially would have fallen from grace would be like a way to put it, I guess. So would that be included in that portion of it?
Councilmember Nomura through the mayor, yes, that was the intention of
Thank you.
that
That's what I
item.
thought.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, no questions. I will open up public comment. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
We do have one raised hand, Mayor. Arturo Teo. Arturo, go ahead.
Unmute. Okay. Okay, I wanted to speak actually regarding the Vera Benson bioswale. I know it's coming up, so I'll go ahead and speak now. That might help you with I just want to put it in the record. So good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Arturo Teo, owner of the Palm Loft Gallery here in Carpinteria. And I'm speaking in support of renaming the farmer's parcel on Bluffs 1 to the Vera Benson bioswale. This name change makes sense for 3 reasons. First, it ends the confusion. The current name comes from the farmer family who once owned the land, not from farming. There's agriculture elsewhere on the bluffs, but not here. Second, it tells us that this land actually does. This buffer is a bioswale. It filters and cleans runoff water before it reaches the ocean or our aquifer. The name will match the purpose. And third, most important, it honors Vera Benson. Through her work with the Carpinteria Valley Association, the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County, and the citizens for the Carpinteria Bluffs. Vera's contributions to this city are greater than we can fully measure. This is a fitting recognition. The name Vera Benson's bioswale is clear, it's accurate, and it's very much deserved. I urge you to approve it, and then later to invite Vera and the family to come there along with supporters and take a picture with you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your comments.
And Mayor, that concludes Zoom comment.
Yeah, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the council for any other comments or questions, and of course, a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 6492, approving the naming policy.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion passes. We will now move on to item number 23, which is adopt resolution number 6493, naming city-owned property APN 001-180-062, the Vera Benson Bioswale.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item before you is a request to name the city-owned property identified as APN, assessor parcel number 001-180-062, commonly referred to as the farmer parcel, to name it the Vera Benson Bioswale. This request originally came from the Citizens for the Carpinteria Bluffs and was considered by COSMAB, the Carpinteria Open Space Management Advisory Body, in September of last year. Following its discussion, COSMAB voted to recommend the proposed name and forwarded that recommendation to the City Council. As discussed in the previous agenda item, staff has also evaluated this request using the framework that is now in the established naming policy that was presented to you all this evening. To orient everyone to the property, the area outlined on the screen is the approximate 1.54 acre city-owned parcel located north of Carpinteria Avenue and east of Baylord Avenue, directly across from the Carpinteria Bluffs Nature Preserve and Viola Fields. The city acquired the property in 2009 through a public acquisition effort that included funding from Citizens for the Carpinteria Bluffs, the city, and the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Following the acquisition, the property was incorporated into the Carpinteria Bluffs Nature Preserve and is managed by the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department with advisory input from COSMAB. The property has commonly been called the farmer parcel, but that is an informal reference based on the surname of the property's former owners. And as Arturo mentioned, it was not actually farmed. This closer aerial gives you a better view of the property itself. There are really two parts to the proposed name, and I think it's helpful to briefly explain each. First, Vera Benson. Vera is a local artist, educator, and conservation advocate, and co-founder of both the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County and Citizens for the Carpinteria Bluffs. She played a significant role in protecting and preserving open space throughout the Carpinteria Valley, including the Carpinteria Bluffs. The second part is bioswale, which relates to the function of the property. The parcel serves as a seasonal stormwater conveyance and retention area. Stormwater from the Viola Fields parking lot and surrounding areas flows through the property before ultimately reaching the regional drainage system at Carpinteria Creek. Under the existing conditions, vegetation and accumulated soil slow and retain water in portions of the parcel during wet periods, contributing to seasonal wetland conditions. Citizens for the Carpinteria Bluffs has described the property as functioning similarly to a bioswale because it receives, slows, and temporarily retains stormwater within a vegetated area. There has also been a long-term vision for potentially enhancing those stormwater and habitat functions in the future. I do want to emphasize that tonight's action is only the naming of the property. No restoration, drainage improvements, or other physical improvements to the site are being proposed or authorized as part of this action. When evaluating the naming policy council considered just moments ago, staff found the request to be generally consistent with the policy. The proposed name recognizes an individual whose contributions had significant and lasting impact on the preservation of the Carpinteria Bluffs and the surrounding open space, while bioswale portion of the name reflects the property's existing stormwater and ecological functions and the long-term vision for the site. The request was also reviewed by COSMAB, which is the appropriate advisory body for this city asset. Ultimately, however, the decision to approve, modify, or deny the proposed name remains with the City Council. Staff's recommendation is that Council adopt Resolution Number 6493, naming APN 001-180-062 the Vera Benson Bioswale. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Okay, no questions. I will open up public comment. Looks like we have a speaker slip. Ted Rhodes, is this you? Okay, come on up.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hi.
Well, Charles said a lot that I don't need to say, and actually I've said it quoted in the staff report and the earlier documents. But I was president of the Citizens for the Carpinteria Bluffs when we made this quiet acquisition. Very few people know it as the farmer parcel, even just us bluff nerds call it that. But then when we do mention it to people, there's, what, there was farming out there? No, it's a long story. So it's been a source of confusion for those of us involved in COSMAB and the Bluffs because it has nothing to do with farming. And I wish at the time of the acquisition that Matt Roberts was involved with that we had just thought to rename it then. But I'm grateful that the city is considering that now. And I do want to also say that we do have some funding that we hope also to put into improving this property as a bioswale due to some errors that made some mitigation that the Edison company caused a little bit of damage out there. So we do plan to at some point come back probably to COSMAB and Jeanette and with a plan on that regard, working with the city. But anyway, encourage you to honor Vera, who is, other than Lois Seidenberg, probably worked on saving the Bluffs longer than any other individual here, and was part of the Carpinteria Land Trust that later merged with the Santa Ynez Land Trust to form the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County. So a lot of history there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I do not have any other speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
We have one speaker, Susan Allen. Susan, go ahead. Susan, you want to unmute yourself?
Thank you. I want to second Arturo and Ted's comments and remind the general public how much of an educator Vera was. Certainly saving the environment, but she brought so many people along. She encouraged, she taught, she listened, and continues to, I should say. And this is something well-deserved, and I'm hoping that you all agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Mayor, can I add one comment? Can I add one comment?
Sure. Come on up.
Due to my forgetting to say so, I just wanted to personally thank Jeanette for being so patient and following through on this, because I know she's got a lot on her plate right now. So we really appreciate the work she's done on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other Zoom comments?
Mayor, that concludes Zoom comment.
Okay, I will close public comment, bring it back to the council for any questions and of course a motion.
I'll move to adopt resolution number 6493 as read by title only, naming city-owned property identified as APN 001-180-062, the Vera Benson Bioswale.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. We will now move on to item number 24, which is consideration of resolution number 6494, approving a citywide sponsorship policy.
I apologize, you move faster than my mouse. All right. The final policy I have for you this evening is the proposed citywide sponsorship policy. The requested action is to adopt resolution number 6494 approving the policy. Currently, the city does not have a formal policy governing how we solicit, accept, administer, and recognize sponsorships. The purpose of this policy is to really create that consistent framework citywide while also making sure we have appropriate safeguards in place to protect the city's interests. This also complements the donation policy City Council adopted in May, as well as the naming policy adopted, again, just moments ago. Together, these policies give us a much clearer framework for the different ways individuals, businesses, and organizations may support city programs and services. So the most important distinction with this policy is really the reciprocal benefit when you're asking what is sponsorship. With a sponsorship, an individual or organization provides financial or in-kind support to a city program or event with the expectation of receiving some limited recognition in return. A donation is different because it is a charitable contribution without the expectation of recognition or another reciprocal benefit. And naming is separate from both. Naming is an honorary designation that is considered under the city's naming policy and is not something a sponsor is contractually entitled to receive. And one important point here is that recognition is not advertising. The city can acknowledge that a sponsor supported a program or event, but that recognition does not constitute an endorsement by the city of that sponsor, their products, services, or viewpoints. So how the policy works. The policy also establishes a pretty straightforward administrative process. First, a department identifies a program or an event for which it would like to seek sponsorships and develops a fundraising plan outlining the opportunity and the proposed recognition. Sponsorship solicitation is conducted by city staff, and offers are reviewed by the appropriate department director. Approval then follows the city's existing delegated authority and procurement thresholds. So that's similar to the donation policy. We're going to stick with our procurement thresholds for the approval levels. Early approved sponsorship must have a written sponsorship agreement that clearly identifies what the sponsor is providing and what recognition the city is providing in return. And importantly, recognition isn't provided until the agreement is executed and the financial or in-kind contribution has been received or otherwise approved by the city. Finally, all sponsorship revenues and in-kind contributions have to be processed and accounted for through the city's normal financial procedures. The policy gives staff flexibility to recognize sponsors, but it also puts some pretty clear guardrails around that recognition. Recognition could include things like a sponsor's name or logo on event materials or signage, acknowledgement on the city webpage, recognition in promotional materials, on-site acknowledgement at the event, or public acknowledgement by city staff or at a council meeting. But again, the intent is acknowledgement, not commercial advertising. So we would not allow a product or service advertising, promotional messaging, or calls to action. A sponsorship cannot imply city endorsement, influence city purchasing, permitting, or regulatory decisions, create a conflict of interest, or create ongoing obligations for the city beyond the sponsorship term. The city also retains editorial control over how recognition appears and has the discretion to decline a sponsorship if it isn't consistent with the city's interests, policy, applicable law, strategic plan, and strategic goals. So finally, I want to provide council with just some draft examples of what this could actually look like in practice. Attachment B of the staff report includes a draft list of potential sponsorship opportunities across several city programs. For example, sponsorships could help support an Age Well community social dance or the Dia de los Abuelos event, a dive-in movie at the community pool, library programs such as seasonal community reads, the sustainability events such as the Fix-It Fair, or supplies and programming for the city's CERT emergency preparedness program. I do really want to emphasize again that attachment B in this slide here is just a draft planning tool. Council's not approving these specific sponsorship opportunities or amounts tonight. This is really just intended to illustrate how the policy could be used and the opportunities and ideas of amounts that can be refined as programs and events develop. Ultimately, the goal is to give staff another tool to bring outside financial and in-kind resources into city programs while making sure we are doing so consistently, transparently, and with appropriate protections in place. So staff recommends the City Council adopt resolution number 6494 approving the sponsorship policy. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Just two quick questions. So I really like number 11 in the policy, talking about how sponsorship should not create ongoing financial, operational, or staffing, et cetera, needs for the city. How do we make sure that sponsorships really supplement city programming instead of creating obligating costs that continue past the one time?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Solorzano through the mayor. That's a great question. So the obligation is really just for whatever the agreement term would be. So the program's length of time or for that specific special event. And these would be programs or events that city staff find align with their program's mission, vision, and values, their strategic goals, or, for example, the Fix-It Fair. We're doing the Fix-It Fair annually, but one idea that the Sustainability and Environment Division had was to be able to provide some stipends to the fixers as a thank you for their time, and that's currently not budgeted. So this would enhance an already existing ongoing program. So this would be for programs, events, things that we are either already doing that we could make better or that we want to do within our capacity with our staffing limitations and with, not causing overtime or undue burden onto the staff. It would be something that is in line with what their work plan is.
Great. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, that helps to really underscore the fiscal sustainability that's built into this policy, which is great. And then also, so would since this will be a new policy, would council be receiving like an annual like a sponsorship activity summary, at the end of the fiscal year, or is that envisioned to come back to us so that we get a sense of what all these sponsorships have been in the past year?
Yes, Vice Mayor Solorzano through the mayor. I've spoken with Lisette, our finance director, about it, and since it is new, we will definitely, work out the details. My initial thought is that this would be really great to highlight within our period reporting, in the financial slides that we present to you all quarterly within the fiscal years. For whichever departments are receiving sponsorships, because we would want to, it would be right for work that we would already be reporting on as part of those period reporting, because it's part of our goals, and then we do report to you all on the financials as part of that. So I think it just makes sense if we fit in there, and it could be a quarterly opportunity to highlight and see how it's going.
It's perfect. Thank you very much.
Jen, a couple of questions for you on this one also. On it, I didn't see a lot of information as far as how you're going to be qualifying the sponsorship, people that are actually giving the funds. As an example, if it's going to be groups, if it would include individuals, nonprofits, service organizations, things like that. Usually on these, I see specific identifying factors like that. The other question or concern I have is the screening aspect of it. If in fact, if it is inclusive of individuals, if we know where those funds are going to be coming from, if it's going to be a nonprofit, or if it's going to be somebody with money that we may find out came from questionable resources in the future.
Yes, Councilmember Nomura through the mayor, those are great points. So as it was envisioned and drafted is sponsorships could come from any of those that you mentioned, individuals, organizations, nonprofits, or businesses. We do have a provision about, if the entity's revenue is substantially derived from the sale of alcohol, illegal drugs, illegal drug paraphernalia, firearm, weapons, et cetera, we would reject that sponsorship. So we did put some language in there, and it also goes on, sorry, to reference it within the policy, I'm looking at 12 A, B, and C. And so it also says that we would not accept sponsorships from entities with the intent to act on behalf of, in support of, or opposition to any political candidate or ballot measure, advocate political position, or any entities that discriminate on the grounds of race, religious creed, color, et cetera. So there is some language in there, definitely. And ultimately, the city would reserve the right to respectfully decline any sponsorships, and it would be at the level, depending on the procurement policy, it would either be department head, city manager, or your council.
Good. So there is actually a screening process in place.
Councilmember Namor through the mayor, yes, there is a screening process. To your question about finding out where the funds come from specifically, I would look to the city manager or our legal attorney.
Yeah, Councilmember Namor through the mayor. I don't know that we would, I think we would take it at the organization or agency level of who's donating the funds, and don't know we would track much beyond that. However, I just wanted to say this is, and Jeanette can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an overarching policy for sponsorship in the city. But we would have a sponsorship agreement for each event that would talk about what would be given as a sponsorship related to that event. And each one of those agreements can have separate, they don't have to be identical. And so that's something that I just wanted to make clear, that we're not tied to this overarching thing, but we'll be able to even make it more specific per event.
Sounds good. The only reason I brought that up, once we approve this, it's going to go through the process. If the process is, I would say, less screening potential, it just becomes kind of a stamp, then I think we may have a problem with it. So that's why I was a little concerned about including that in the verbiage.
And sorry, Councilmember Namor, can you restate again what the concern, the specific part language you were concerned about?
It's easier to put the guidelines down the way we have it right now. Those all make good sense to me. However, if in fact there is somebody that would fall in the category of not being eligible for this one, if that person or that group would go through and not be checked, that would be my one big concern. Somebody's going to have to do a checking on those.
Yeah, Councilmember Namor, I know when I used to be a development director in a past life, and we didn't accept funds from, cannabis dispensaries and things like that. And it really was based on whether they made the donation from the organization. It didn't really stop an individual who owned a cannabis dispensary from donating as an individual. So really, the check was based on the person that was seeking the recognition. So if it was an individual name, the screening was, at that name level. And then, of course, if it was a company or something like that, or an organization, then yes, we would do some research into the organization or the company.
And Michael, I can add in some additional thoughts. Councilmember Nimura through the mayor. I think, as Michael was saying, we'll probably have different types of sponsorship agreements to implement this process. And similar to what we do with a lot of other city agreements, including our development applications, right? There's sort of a self-certification, or I'll call it a self-certification process. So we could include language on those sponsorship agreements where the individual would have to attest that, the funds that they're planning to donate don't come from illegal profits, or, something along those lines. But I think there's only so much the city can do in terms of kind of tracing where funds go in terms of potential sponsorships to the city. So I would recommend some sort of self-attestation or self-certification.
That'd be good. I would agree with that. The main thing is I just want to make sure that, we did our due diligence. If it goes through and somehow makes it through the cracks, at least we did what we could.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, no questions. I will open up public comment. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no raised hands.
Okay, I will close public comment, bring it back to the council for any other questions, comments, and a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 6494, approving the sponsorship policy.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. We will now move on to the legislative update.
Thank you, Mayor Alarcon, council members. So this evening's update includes summaries and positions on several bills, including housing-related bills, AB 2296, AB 1751, and SB 1117, a voting rights bill, SB 1164, and some updates on previously summarized bills such as SB 1013, AB 1383, SB 866, and the Proposition 36 funding request. So in previous city council meetings, we summarized SB 1013, AB 1383, SB 866, and AB 2296, as well as the Proposition 36 funding request. I'm not going to cover those in any detail this evening, but I do have notes on them if we want to revisit any of those. So the bills I am going to summarize tonight, there are three of them: AB 1751, SB 1117, and SB 1164. And these are ones that we have not covered in previous meetings. So AB 1751 is authored by Quirk Silva. It's referenced or referred to as the Missing Middle Townhome Ownership Act. And it would require local governments to ministerially approve townhomes of less than 3 stories in multifamily zones and vacant single-family zones, regardless of compliance with state-certified housing elements. So in those multifamily zones, a developer, for example, could propose smaller projects than those planned in the housing plans, meaning that cities could then be required to find additional housing sites to maintain their housing element certification. And so this is kind of one of those, impacts of downzoning. League of California Cities is currently recommending opposing this bill because it takes discretion away from cities. SB 1117 is authored by Cervantes. It refers to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. So as currently drafted, it would drastically limit the impact fees that cities could collect for accessory dwelling units larger than 750 square feet. An example here is if a project applicant proposed 1,000 square foot units, cities could only charge impact fees for about 250 square feet of that unit, which is a 75% reduction in impact fees that, as you all know, go to provide essential infrastructure and public services for new housing developments and for the city. The League of California Cities is also recommending municipalities oppose this bill. The last bill I'm going to summarize for you all this evening is SB 1164, also authored by Cervantes. It's relating to elections. So it would greatly overhaul the California Voting Rights Act, or the CVRA. CVRA, once again, is one of the laws that was cited in a lot of the challenges to public agencies, forcing them to convert to district elections. So this proposed bill would apply broader, very subjective standards to virtually any election policy or practice, including district maps, polling locations, and voter outreach, and by creating undefined standards for voter suppression and vote dilution. It could eliminate meaningful safe harbors, expand who may bring claims and where, permit lawsuits without warning, and expose cities to repeated challenges to district maps. League of California Cities also recommends opposing this bill unless it's significantly amended.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to move forward any opposition of any of those bills?
I thought AB 1751, SB 1164, and SB 1117 all looked like they would be relevant to us and would be good for us to send letters for. And I know that AB 2296, we've already sent a letter for that, but I appreciated seeing the update for that one too.
I agree with that.
Yep, I'm happy to support that as well.
Yeah, so just to confirm, one, before we do make a motion, Mayor Alarcon, just a reminder to go out to public comment. But if I understand Vice Mayor Solorzano's comment, it is that there's a motion on the table to send letters opposing AB 1751, SB 1117, and SB 1164.
Yes.
Okay, I will open up public comment. I do not have any speaker slips. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
Mayor, we have no Zoom comment.
Okay, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for a motion.
So I move that council directs the city attorney to write letters of opposition to AB 1751, SB 1164, and SB 1117.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
If
None. Motion passes.
Apologies, if I can just clarify, Vice Mayor Solers, I know we usually work with the city clerk to draft those
Okay.
letters.
Oh, great. Yes.
So I just want
Yes.
to
Okay.
make sure that that's incorporated as well, just to keep costs down. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, we will now move on to committee reports, inquiries, and other matters presented by council members.
Oh, yeah, I can say that the Public Engagement Committee met on Monday, August 10th, and we discussed the state of the city that's going to be coming up next Monday.
Great. Any other report outs?
Yeah, I've got two items I'd like to move or talk about. First one is Community Matters, one I just did last week. Ryan did a great job of briefing it up, putting a PowerPoint together for it. Michael came back from his time, a little break there, to have it presented. We covered RENA and also Builder's Remedy, how that fits in, where it came from, and how the city could effectively work within our confines of what we have to do. The second item, this is a little bit different. It's not off of any of the specific items we have here, but I want to make a suggestion. This is for staff and also for the council to consider. And that would be actually moving forward with including the 4 or 5 strategic priorities we have identified. That would include, for example, finances, housing, the roads, and keeping Carpinteria. So in doing that, the reason I'm bringing that up is that we include this in agenda points, we would be more apt to actually have coverage of those. So as an example, today's agenda, we had a lot of great things going on, but we didn't touch on any of these, the 4 priorities that we've identified in the past. And the reason I bring that up, this would allow staff more focused time to prioritize what they're working on rather than the day-to-day. There's a lot of things right now that we have that are working with that may not fit within the strategic priorities we're looking at. And that's why I'm suggesting if we do that, it would give them more reason and better time to actually prioritize on the jobs that they're supposed to be working with, as opposed to those that may not have quite the priority of some of the other points we're working with right now. So again, I'm bringing that up as a suggestion. I don't expect us to take any action on it. It's just a suggestion.
I'm not sure I quite understood the suggestion. Is it for something that the council can do or staff? Is your suggestion?
This would be staff related to help out them. They're extremely limited on time right now, especially given the financial constraints we have and the amount of work that we have them doing. So that's why I pointed that out.
Is that
I
clear?
know we're putting a lot of time on.
Okay. Is that clear to staff in terms of the request that's being asked, or do you need more clarity?
Well, is it something that the council wants to?
No, I'm just making a suggestion.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
That's all I'm doing, yeah.
Thank you. I do actually have a recommendation, just based off of an earlier item today that came up. On an annual basis, I believe this happens in December, the council approves the calendar of all of our meetings. So it would be great if we could consider amending the existing policy to include avoiding scheduling meetings on either religious holidays that involve significant work restrictions moving forward. I'm not sure exactly when that timing takes place, but if the rest of the council is on board, it would be nice to just have something on the calendar moving forward. So, yeah.
I'd be curious to know, do other cities have that in place? Yeah, because it seems like I can understand that, and I would wonder what the threshold for holidays would be, because there are a lot of religious holidays that could impact it. So that might be my only kind of concern, would be maybe seeing examples of what those calendars might look like in other cities, and then just making sure to figure out like where that threshold is.
Mm-hmm. If I can jump in, Vice Mayor Solorzano, through the mayor, great suggestion, great question as well. There's no kind of overriding direction that you know, I can look out there and say, yes, all cities do this. Some cities do recommend, okay, I'll take a step back. It's, you know, all cities, or at least the majority of cities, do recognize both state and federal holidays, and they're not going to be, and that's state law, right? So you can't plan public meetings on those dates. That said, there are a lot of lesser holidays that aren't mandated to or restricted from holding public meetings. And I think Vice Mayor Solorzano, as you were saying, it is hard to figure out where to draw the line there. And so some cities, we looked at it particularly in response to as we were planning for this upcoming planning commission, and there were some cities that did have a policy in place to avoid certain Jewish holidays and other holidays. I would have to assume that it was because there were larger populations of those individuals practicing that religion in those cities that led them to make that decision, that policy decision, to restrict public meetings on those particular dates. But across the board, all cities don't follow any sort of set these holidays. We don't, you know, have public meetings in these holidays. We will still schedule public meetings. So I think it would be very much a case-by-case basis here. But it's definitely something that we can look into.
Well, I would love to, if staff could look into it, if there's consensus.
I have a little bit of information. In the past, when we've had these meetings, especially special call meetings like the one we're having with the Planning Commission, previously we used to always try and hold at the same scheduled time. What we do is we modify the agenda to where the agendas would be heavier on other items prior to and afterwards, by leaving that one void specific just for that one specific topic. That way we didn't have to schedule in second and third times. It helps staff also, because then they're not obligated to put in a special time for that. So something to think about. Whenever possible, we just shift it around to where it would fit.
So maybe that's part of the policy, is that if, you know, something lands on those dates, we can shift some things around. I don't know. I just think it would be really great to do some work on this as we set the calendar for 2027 moving forward.
Mayor, I think when we come together, I'm just trying to confirm, because I think we actually may have more time, and it could be something that could be discussed as part of the next strategic planning session, only because I think in December we meet and we finalize a calendar for like holidays and things like that for staff. But I don't think it confines us to a larger policy on whether to hold meetings on certain religious holidays. I think that's a larger discussion that could occur at a separate time, and maybe a strategic planning session would work. We could certainly, I don't know when. We could look into information and see if we could find about various religious practices in the community. And I know that I've been in a previous city where it was a different religion, and there was a large number of community members that practiced that. And there was some, I don't know that there was a policy, but there was definitely some effort to avoid scheduling things on those dates. I'd like to say that we tried to do that here as well.
Yeah.
But happy to continue that conversation. Not sure that it needs to happen in December, but perhaps in like January or February, if that would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. Is there consensus with council members?
Sure.
Yes? Yes? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so moving on. Attendance of council members for future meetings?
Yes.
Yes? And we will not be adjourning. We will be adjourning into closed session. So it is 9:29.
Great, thanks, Mayor Alarcon. I'll just announce this into closed session again. So we'll be meeting for a continuation of one of our agenda is closed session items, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation for one case.
Thank you.